knowledge and also the streets. And we have a very two special guests, Zulu King Fats in the building and the Queen Nova Kane in the building with us as well. Peace, family. Peace, peace.
Peace, peace, peace,
Peace.
peace.
Yeah, glad to have y'all on the podcast. Fat's been on here with us once before, but
Yes,
I
sir.
wanted to get like, some background and get y'all story. And I can't tell the brother story without the queen. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's all interlocked, you know what I'm saying? His story is your story is his story. And I wanted to get y'all both on here. And I appreciate y'all time, man. Um so, Fats is out of chapter 30, Zulu Union, and I just wanted to salute the brother and salute the other brothers from the chapter. And where'd y'all grow up at? I know y'all Virginia based, but is that where y'all originally from?
Yeah, yeah.
Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk,
Okay.
Virginia. What we call Hampton Roads, Missy, Farrell, Clips territory.
Okay.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that a part of, because I'm a New York brother and I just realized that not all of VA is a part of the DMV. Is that a part of the DMV?
Mm,
People don't usually consider it part of the DMV. Some people
Okay.
do, but yeah, it's at the very, very bottom of VA, at the
Oh,
at the
okay.
very corner of VA, the most eastern bottom corner of VA.
most southeast. We're in the southeastern
Okay.
corner of VA.
Mm-hmm.
DMV is normally Northern Virginia. That's what we
Right.
talk about like that. Geographically, it's like Maryland,
Where they
D.
kind of all interlock, right? Where they kind of like they're close to
Yeah.
each other,
Yep.
right? More
Northern
Maryland,
Virginia.
closer
D, like
proximity.
Arlington, Alexandria, those kind of
Mm-hmm.
areas, stuff like that.
Okay.
Hmm.
What could y'all tell me about where y'all from in VA? Like what
Uh,
it's like out there?
it's seafood type culture. It's beach type culture. There's all kind of ports and waterways and things where we're from. So it has that kind of culture, and in that way, it kind of reminds me of like a port city like Baltimore or something. So it's
Right.
more country, not as streetish as maybe Baltimore. So kind of an easygoing place. Farmland and stuff. If you go, but we're in the more city part. So
Hmm.
the notable part of our area is like Norfolk is very little, but it's the
Hmm.
biggest naval base in the world. So we have heavy, heavy military culture out here. Really, really big, heavy military culture. So a lot of people from different places here who settled from all around the world. We have
Right.
Filipinos, a lot of Filipinos here, and stuff like that. So it's kind of a good mix. Norfolk is a black city, but then
Hmm.
like I said, it's called the Seven Cities, aka Tidewater, aka Hampton Roads, aka the 757, which is our area code, and it's
Right.
what Norfolk, Newport News, Chesapeake, Suffolk, Virginia Beach, Hampton, uh,
Chesapeake.
Chesapeake.
That's
Yeah,
it.
so
Yep.
7 cities.
Right.
So even though Norfolk is little, most of us, if you ask us where we're from, we'll all just kind of lump everything together, and the area itself is more sizable. But it's dope. It's dope. Kind of
Yeah.
kind of underdeveloped place. Little diamond in the rough.
Yeah, it's
Right.
military, mostly. Like if you say what is the culture, you know what I mean, of the
Yeah,
area,
military
whatever, it's
culture,
primary military highway, Princess Anne Road,
Battlefield
Hmm.
Boulevard.
Battlefield
Yeah,
Boulevard. So a
yeah.
lot of streets are named. It's very war
Generals
heavy.
and
A lot of the
Hmm.
tourism. That's what she was saying. They're just now getting into culture and barely doing it, but
Right.
yeah, culture. Like again, a Zulu Nation chapter is challenging to have at a place like this.
mhm,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
mhm.
Fast, you a little bit out of the view. I don't see your I just see your shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's better. Yeah, a little bit better. Now Novocaine out of the view.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry, y'all.
we can see us real good, but you must just see
Oh,
something.
we're all right. So maybe, yeah, maybe it's my view. Maybe when it uploads, it'll be a little different. It'll probably be like a wider view.
Yeah, you should
Um,
get tighter like this.
yeah, I just try to get. I want to get y'all both in. You know what I'm saying?
Word up.
Yeah. It's funny because the brother Watt, our co-host, he's running a few minutes late. He'll be on in a moment. He was stationed out there, and he told me, that's he was out there for a while. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And he was telling me it's a big, like a big naval base out there. Um, so growing up out there, did y'all see hip hop culture out there early, or did y'all come across it at a young age?
Yeah, well, like, okay, like, King Prism, you know what I mean, Zulu Union, whatever.
Yes,
He's
sir.
working on this. He's working on his project is basically reaching out. L1, you know what it is. You know, we're reaching out to learning other people's story of hip hop in other geographical regions other than New
Mhm.
York. That's his big thing. And so one of the things he asks everybody this interview question. He has a series of interviews with this particular initiative that he has. And one of the questions is, how did hip hop get to you? You know, how did it
Right.
get to your area? And so for us, it's primarily media.
Mm-hmm.
Started with radio. You hear rap on the
Mhm.
radio first. What is this? Something new. Um, and
Mixtapes,
then
New
and
York.
Right.
right, and then comes breaking one, the media, breaking two, beat street, crush
Mhm.
groove,
Soul
and then
Train.
you know what I mean. So those
Right.
were the media is what
Right.
really got is what got as far as our community privy to what
Right.
hip hop was. So from a very young age, as far as the culture, and I'm writing something now, writing a piece now called the Overstood Order, where I'm explaining how I was hip hop before I knew hip hop was even a culture, before there was even
Mhm.
rules. Like
Same.
that, she often
Make sure
reminds
you
us
stay in the middle when you're talking.
word. She often Nova Kane often reminds me of how we were all writing our names in bubble letters in our notebooks in the fourth, fifth grade. Did we
Mm-hmm.
know it was
Right.
culture in
Well, it
hip
was hip
hop?
hop.
Nah, you know
No.
what I mean.
Right.
So that's kind of how the culture hit us down here. For those of us that consider ourselves like I guess what you, for lack of a better way, hip hop people, hip hoppers,
Right.
you know, from VA.
Right.
But yeah, it was the media that got us, that caught, you know what I mean, that got
And
us in.
some some
Ain't it amazing how it came naturally too, right? Y'all saying y'all just writing in bubble letters,
mm-hmm.
like it come to the people naturally, like it's in your blood,
Yeah,
like you know what I mean?
it's like I said, it's an overstood order. That's how I'm explaining it in this piece, trying to explain to people. Because one of the narratives I'm realizing is in this whole thing where this history is being, we trying to still get our history right in the culture or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I'm realizing is just how people don't understand a hip hop person, how a hip hop
Hmm.
person comes to be, our lifestyle, what it is we really carry. So that's what that overstood order is explaining how, you know, once you said what you said, it was natural. You know, we looked up, we saw Beat Street, okay, we noticed the graffiti, we saw it again, okay, boom, boom, boom. So nobody really had to explain it to us. Africa Red Bottom never said it was hip hop to us yet. We didn't see that interview.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so,
Right.
you know, we get all this stuff just through the music or whatever. And like you said, it just became who we were. You know what I mean? As people, it defined the hip hop generation X, if you will, the
Right.
'70s babies. You know what I'm saying? Primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Right. One of the first times I heard somebody represent VA like from an MC standpoint in New York, when Hot 97 was real, they did actually play Mad Skills record on the radio up here. And I ain't gonna lie, most of the brothers in New York was blown away when we heard Mad Skills. He was getting heavy rotation on BET Rap City, Yo MTV Raps, Hot 97, he was getting burned. They were playing his record and we were like, yo, this brother, I mean, yeah, but we thought he was gonna be one of the greats. Like, we saw him like he could be like a Nas type or a Keith Murray. Like he was nasty with the wordplay. And I think he did a lot for VA as far as putting the city or the state on the map. Were y'all also like being down there, like hearing him? Was it a big buzz?
Yes, yes, and no.
Mm,
One of the things that has always happened with our area,
mm-hmm,
I love Matt Skills. He's dope, but the kind of vein of MC that we come from and that we know of, like on the streets of VA on some underground stuff, he
mm-hmm,
has a very simple rhyme style too.
mm-hmm.
Like the kind of rhyme he does. Same with like Pusha T or something. Like we
Right,
kind of aren't as impressed. And I can't speak for the average VA person now, but from our era, from the '90s,
right.
Matt Skills has a kind of more of I'm like a catchy kind of commercial type flow.
Mm-hmm,
Um, but I guess in a way, same like kind of like Big L.
mm-hmm.
I like Big L, but I never really thought he was the most lyrical person ever or anything.
Right,
And I
right.
noticed that New Yorkers like really like Big L. They really like
Yeah, indeed. They revere him. Yeah.
yeah, and we love Big L
Yeah,
too.
yeah. There goes
But
that dude. Yeah.
it
Yeah, yeah, no,
from a
I
lyrical
understand.
perspective, it's just kind of okay to me. And so to
Right.
be real, it's the same way with Mad Skills. Mad Skills kind of has a gimmicky, more punchline type of style,
Mhm.
where is but that being said, he had mad love. Like he's one of those people. He's very beloved. Some people who come from here, everybody don't necessarily love them here, but
Right.
Mad Skills always. I don't know. He must just be a decent person or something. He just seems to have an energy that people vibe with. So he had a big buzz here, but it wasn't the kind of buzz that
Right.
really on our level, the more underground raw level,
Right,
And
right, right. Of course.
Yeah, what happened was he had won a contest in Richmond. That's where he was from. So he had
Right.
won a contest there, which got him a record deal. So for those,
freestyling is his claim to
again,
fame too.
right, was his claim to fame
Right.
because he nice. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Right.
Mhm.
But and so he did. He was a beacon, just like you said. Y'all giving him the love. Y'all was
Mhm.
giving him. That meant
Right.
a lot to VA. New
Mhm.
York love.
Right.
Okay, that's mad
It's
Yeah.
skills
it's
It,
going
ca-
there.
it's
different
a,
out.
goes a long way.
But I also
Goes.
want to add with Mad Skills is you want to talk about a brother who shows love to the community and is being communal. So we had a joint called Word of Mouth one
Mhm.
time. It was a local
Mhm.
Thank you.
community joint, right?
Mhm.
Local joint. We reached out to him. He came and he was on for the
Yeah.
record. He's on a couple of years now. Name is mega.
Mhm.
Name is nice in
Right.
the industry. He came
Right.
on the love, bro. I mean, and rocked
Mhm.
out like he got
That's
paid
peace.
for free.
Right.
That's
Straight
dope.
up.
See,
And
that's
I
what
was
I like
like,
to hear. I like to hear that.
yo, and
I
he
like
packed
to
the
hear
joint.
that.
Of course,
Right.
mad people showed up because it was
Right.
yo. We would have an average of say 30, 40 people at our joint. It was a nice thing we had going. We had easy 150 people in that joint that night,
Right.
and
And
he
and
charged us nothing.
and he's from
Wow.
Richmond, so that's another thing. Like I'm sure on the underground scene of Richmond, which we had an imprint as well as a group, and the bigger group we're a part of, we did Richmond and stuff too. But we're not from Richmond. Richmond is like an hour and some change
Right.
away from us, so we're still disconnected from their underground hip hop scene.
Mm.
But he
Mhm.
always was really respected on that scene as well. So
Yeah,
for I look at him from a hip hop perspective. He checks the boxes. It's just musically, he's not. He didn't on the underground that we come from, he didn't really,
Mhm.
he's okay. But
Right. Right.
as far
Right.
as what he did and like he just said, his community vibes and
and
stuff,
his
he's just like a
accomplishments,
man of the people type dude.
good
Like,
brother,
Right.
yeah. So
real good
No,
brother.
I
I
rock with him.
totally get what y'all saying because, like, I'm with the underground scene as well, and I always, when a lot of like main artists they get like a mainstream attention, you're like, yeah, he nice, but like he's not like so and so. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
people that we know from the underground that's raw with the lyrics, like raw, raw, raw for real.
And y'all
Because I
y'all haven't heard. That's kind of the one thing that still to this day y'all haven't really heard us. Like people who might know us personally have heard maybe me or him. But
hmm
one thing like this pervasive kind of idea that always was running underneath everything with our MCs, like our
hmm
producers, there's no question. We live in this
right,
little small area, but pound for pound, like we put there's something in the water for real. Like Pharrell named
right,
it right because there's just something about the way cats produce here. But the
right,
MCs, son, like y'all never got to really hear what we actually have to this day. At least with New York, like you could say, okay, well, yeah, no, and people are definitely gonna be doper on the underground. But at some point, we've gotten to hear y'all's
Yeah,
underground.
we
We
heard Cat
right.
Vibes. You know
right,
what I
we
mean?
right.
Right, right, yeah,
Y'all
right,
a thick
right,
under
yeah,
y'all
yeah, right.
underground
Like
thick
y'all know who
bubble.
Vast Air is, right? Yeah, like
Detroit, same thing. Their underground
Right.
bubble, their underground
right,
bubbled in a national, international type way. But
right,
y'all to this day, y'all haven't heard our MCs. Like
right,
Timbaland's dope, but he's not a rapper. He's
right,
kind of a corny rapper. Pharrell is
right.
kind of a corny rapper.
And Magoo was a bad look too, like,
Magoo was a
cause
bad
dude,
look. And I
that
ain't gonna
was
front when we
beyond no
came.
disrespect, you know what I
They
mean?
No,
But
no, no
no,
like,
like
question, no
we threw
question.
listen when Missy and all of them first came out, they did a performance like I think out Virginia Beach or wherever they was at. Cats threw CDs at them. They had thrown like some promo CDs out to everybody. Cats
oh
threw
man,
CDs at them. We were mad because here we are. We're some of the rhyme like the people that we know are some of the rhymingest people. Like it's some of the most raw people you could like imagine.
right,
And then out of out of nowhere comes like Missy and she's like he ow he
right,
and
right,
we just
right,
were like it wasn't
yeah,
a good look for us.
Was
But the production though.
right,
and see, I tell people this
yeah,
all the time. People ask, because I've explained this a lot to a lot of people too, and they be like, "What's?" I'm like, "Well, look, if you got a Timberland, a Pharrell, a Knots Raw, a Bink Dog, and all, you know what I mean? All these people in your area,
Hmm.
they had dope MCs to get to build a whole thing
There,
up
woo,
off of or
these
whatever.
MCs
You know
out
what I
here,
mean?
y'all don't even understand,
And so
man.
as far as the Missy thing,
mm,
I tell people this a lot. The reason why that happened, now granted, I was there that night, but I didn't throw CDs because I knew the implications that it would have
Yeah,
on
that's
our
mean.
local,
yeah.
on them,
That's
you know what I mean,
that's
community.
classless though.
Right. And it like
Shouldn't we
what
shouldn't do that to nobody.
exactly. And thus Timberland skipped us and went and got North Carolina and got Bubba Sparks. And that
Right,
all that was for a reason. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
right,
Now, but the shock value was this. When Missy and them moved before her and Timberland moved up to Rochester, because they moved up to Rochester, New York, and then they blew up. But they moved from here, moved up to New York, and did what they had to do to get on. When they left, they were R&B artists.
right.
So
And that's what they're good at.
when Missy came
I'm
out,
glad y'all said that.
right? When Missy came out, Missy is one of our R&B gurus out here. She's a dope R&B writer. She had
Yeah,
an
we love
R&B
Right,
sing.
Missy.
She had an R&B
right. She's a
single.
songstress, an incredible writer, but
Hmm.
But
she's not an MC. I'm sorry, she's not an
Oh,
MC.
yeah, no, she's a
She may
rapper.
rap once in a while, but
Yeah,
she's a
yeah,
singer
yeah,
and a
and then she's an
songwriter
entertainer. Yeah,
and an entertainer, a dancer, a choreographer. She
Right,
does it all. Respects to the
right,
queen, respect to the sister.
big
She's
respect.
exactly.
talented, talented. But
Yeah,
when she was listed as one of the top female MCs of all time, I was a little upset by that. I'm
I
gonna
was a
be
little
real.
taken too. Yeah, me too, God. Yeah, I
You
was
know,
In a
like,
and that's
world
not to
like
discredit her because the
no,
sister's
she's
resume
fine.
is untouchable.
Yeah,
But there's female MCs that I think are more deserving of, you know what I'm saying? Like she doesn't really rap. You're not a real true MC to be listed on there.
right.
You know what I'm
and
saying?
then it
So
makes you
that
sound
was
like
my
a
gripe.
hater when for
It
me,
does.
it makes me sound like a hater. I have to do a lot of prefacing before I say anything about anybody, because not only do you
Right.
not want it to get back to them and to make it seem like you just some hater out here from their
Right.
hometown and making
Right.
them feel like their hometown is hating on them. It's not that. But also, just the way people look at music these days is just different. I wouldn't have had to do all that prefacing back in the '90s. Everybody booed them, not me, right? So it was like
Right.
consensus. We couldn't
Right.
believe MCs could not believe how corny they were and how hard we rap compared to how
Right.
some of the most lyrical people I've ever heard in my life. They never made it out of the city,
and
and
and,
so
Right.
and something else too about the clips about Missy and them that I also try to build with people too because again
Mhm.
I work around a lot of military so I talk to
Mhm.
a lot of people who love these people and they're not
Right.
from here. And so when I have
Right.
to explain to them, you know what I mean, I was like, okay, so let me give y'all an example of what we mean. My group spent years on the underground scene, open mics, doing shows, being in the community. None of these people were
we're
on this
there.
scene
Right.
ever.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like even Yag Fu Front and Bless Their Heart, when they dropped, they was dope because they were one of the first people to record from here that and have a major record deal with Mercury Records. So they were one of the first people or whatever. But um, that was one of the things. And Yag Fu Front, they showed up at an open mic or two. You know what I mean? We
Mhm.
saw them a little bit, you know, on the
Right.
scene, shout outs, whatever,
Right.
even promoting their own stuff. We saw
Right.
them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We didn't
Mhm.
see Missy.
in
We
the
didn't see
clips.
Pharrell and
Yeah,
them because again,
yeah.
you know, Teddy Riley picked Pharrell right up so Pharrell didn't have to do but so much work. He went in. Clips didn't do had to do but so much work.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
Clips had big money backing them, stuff like that or whatever.
And the
You know
clips,
Right.
what I mean?
I
So
always got to say this to people who aren't from here. The clips are from, and I'm not trying to disrespect Virginia Beach. That's where we live now. We've been living in Virginia Beach, for about 20 years now. But we're from
Mhm.
Norfolk, and Norfolk is a black city, like almost all black.
Mhm.
It's not like a super like rough city or anything, but it has its pockets, right? But Virginia Beach is a very white city. It's very
Mhm.
vanilla. It's not a place. Their projects still look really nice. Like it just compared to
Right.
Norfolk, it's just different. So back when we were young, Virginia Beach was a very, very, it still is, but very, very racist place. You didn't even feel comfortable literally coming into Virginia Beach in your car. I've been pulled over so many times in Virginia Beach compared to anywhere else in this
Mhm.
757. So I mean, even to this day, like we live in Virginia Beach, but this is a hood in Virginia Beach.
Right.
Sometimes there's cops on horses, like in our neighborhood.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
just
Right.
what the hell, right? So it's one of those things where Virginia Beach people were never looked, especially blacks from Virginia Beach, were never looked at as tough or rough or drug dealers. There's plenty of drug dealers everywhere. There's drug dealers
Of
in Virginia
course. Of
Beach too.
course.
And so I'm not trying to say Pusha. See, we really know people who really know him. You know
Right.
what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
And like
Yeah.
for
He's like a so-called kingpin in his rhymes,
and
but.
he's not. So this is my
Mhm.
story now. Back that same place, word of mouth, that he said that
oh yeah, I
Mad
remember
Skills
that night.
came to.
Yep.
One night, so the Clips had grinding out. Great song, loved it, right?
They didn't have
Right.
that one out yet.
Grinding.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
That wasn't their first
They
single.
hadn't got it, but they wasn't grinding wasn't out yet when they came to word of mouth.
Okay, they came to word of mouth, but
They
they recorded the grinding video out the park, right?
yeah, Ty would have
So
in
they went.
Norfolk.
So it's still, my point is still there. So they came to Norfolk. So not only did they come to that underground place that we were just talking about, pulled up in a limo, right? Got out, did a photo op, and left. Right? They didn't stay. Like,
Yeah.
look, when I went to Richmond, we went to Richmond. It was an underground event there, and D'Angelo was in there one year.
Mm.
In there, just like the
Mhm.
rest of
Mhm.
us,
Yeah,
just
chilling with a
chilling.
jersey on
You know
and
what I
Right.
shit like
mean?
that.
Like,
And
oh,
Right.
we
Right.
when we
Right.
left, we was like, D.
we,
He was like, yo,
and
what up? We was like,
he was about to come out with the Voodoo album. He was 5 minutes from coming out with the Voodoo album to give you like a
The
time.
R&B brothers be more hip hop than the so-called hip hop
You know what I
dudes.
mean? And D'Angelo is no exception. He's very cool and whatever. So meanwhile, we ain't never seen the clips out in Norfolk, but here they are at the Word of Mouth event or getting out of limos and shit. So okay, whatever. But then they came to the hood. They went to Tidewater Park, this very hood place, to film their grinding video. But they're not from New York. I mean, they're not from Norfolk,
Right.
and yeah, like we don't know them. Like so that persona is still is kind of a persona, and just to go to
Hmm.
somebody else's hood to film because we know MCs from Virginia Beach who actually did kind of come up in a hood type of way, dead
Right,
homies and
right,
all that stuff,
yeah, big
and
up the
they
right,
Surreal.
film their videos in the Virginia Beach hoods. They don't come
right,
to some foreign hood in another city. That would be like
right,
somebody coming to the Bronx, but they from Queens, and then they trying to
right.
act like they from the Bronx in the video to get more hip hop clout.
But they
Right.
see,
People do
J
that
Lo,
all the time too. They'll go to
J
somebody
Lo,
else's projects and film
right.
a video.
J Lo from the Bronx and always talking about how hood she is when it's convenient for her.
Yeah,
Like,
nah,
like
nah. I don't think she's even from a bad area like
she's
that in the
not.
Bronx.
She's
See, the
not.
perception is like people make it seem like the whole entire New York City is wild, treacherous, and bad.
No, it's
There's
still
plenty of
nice.
mansions
Yeah,
in the Bronx
yeah,
too.
it's New
Real
York.
shit. There's some neighborhoods in the Bronx, and people would not know it, but it's like the Beverly Hills. They got $3 million mansions out there, $5 million mansions.
Wow.
Riverdale, Bronx, New York, Fieldston. This is like the top of the Bronx, and then
Okay.
it
It
winds up
makes
becoming
sense.
Yonkers, and then Yonkers is crazy. It's the hood,
It
but
makes sense because why would they choke New York off like that and go through all that municipal disinvestment and all
right.
that just to leave the Bronx in rubble? When they destroy a city that way, the next thing to do is for rich people to buy it up and
Oh, and they're
turn
doing that.
everything.
Believe that.
Yeah,
Believe that. In
so
the Bronx, they're putting up buildings. I'm telling you, right next to Mitchell Projects, they're overlooking each other on the highway. $1 million co-ops, like you know what I'm saying? Big, just they're on one side of the block, and the other side is a big, joint with the terrace and the balcony and all that. And your view is straight in public housing. You know what I'm saying? But it's people with, you know what I'm saying, well off $1 million crib, two-bedroom
Wow.
$1 million spot, and you
Wow.
overlooking the projects. And
right,
that's just how they
right,
pushing the people out. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
So
They
yeah,
push
no,
and believe it, they're gonna start
it's
knocking
money.
public housing down.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna start knocking public housing down. Believe it, it's gonna happen.
They doing
They
it.
did it in Chicago, so
They
why
did
not
in
New York
Baltimore. When
City?
I went to school in Baltimore, it was the same way. One street, it would be the affluent part of this whatever Bolton Hill, whatever, and the very next street is where they film in the Wire, like literally where they filmed the
Right,
Wire and shit like that, North Avenue and
right,
all that shit. I mean, and you talk about a pissy street and then just a really affluent neighborhood, like right beside. All you gotta do is just cross the street.
Mhm.
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah, they doing the same thing. We had Tidewater Park, Curry Park, and Youngs Park, like surrounding our downtown Norfolk area. Tidewater Park's already gone. So, and they
Wow.
rebuilding that up, and they calling it here. They calling it mixed income community. So, same what you saying. Basically, Section 8 next door, $150,000 a year family. You know what I
it
mean?
Right,
just looks
And so
better.
that,
They make the
yeah,
Section 8 houses look better so that the affluent
right.
neighbors don't have to look at straight up projects. But it's still the projects. They just have pillars and they made it look, fancy now or whatever versus
Right, right.
back
No, they're
then.
doing the same thing in the Bronx, and they're changing the New York City Housing Authority. The brown brick buildings that typically you would see in the videos or whatever. Right now,
yeah,
they're different. They making it look nicer on the outside
Right,
because they want the people that got the $1 million homes to see something nice. You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
they. I mean, it's not for the residents. It's for the people surrounding. Because
yeah.
this, I mean, y'all could look it up on Google. Mott Haven, Bronx, New York. The buildings that they putting up is crazy. All glass. Like I said, I mean they look great. I'll be working inside them because I'll be everywhere all over New York City working, and
Okay.
it's beautiful. But and I want to see things change for the positive, but I also don't want to see people lose their homes because they
Definitely.
can't afford to live in the city no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but one thing I want to say is right when y'all touch on certain things, it's not that we trying to discredit nobody or we're just saying like there's certain people that identify with hip hop and they're really more so about the rap culture and the industry versus the hip hop based culture from the community. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we gotta as hip hop, true hip hop heads, we gotta distinguish the people that want to do the work in hip hop culture and versus the people that just want to use their talents in rap to just make money and just be out. like they don't bring none of that money back. They don't bring opportunities to brothers in the community, sisters in the community. They
Mhm.
ain't doing no programs. They ain't doing no give backs. Everything is for them so they can consume the high end fashion and buy all the things and pretend like they still in the hood or with the hood, but they not really doing anything for the people.
Right.
And
One
it's
reason why
important we distinguish between these individuals. You
parts.
know what I mean?
I think one reason why I really like Kendrick, we've been Kendrick heads way
No
before,
doubt.
since Section 80 album, whatever, overly
Hmm.
dedicated, whatever. But he's an example that everyone knows. Even if you're not into hip hop at all, you could be young, old at this point, and you're gonna know at least something about Kendrick Lamar because of what he did this past year and how pivotal it was, and low key how political it was. And so my point
Hmm.
is, I like him because he's an example that I can just point to now so easily, instead of me and him having to talk to with blue in the face to make people understand that same principle that you just said about distinguishing between that real cultural hip hopper, that community activist hip hopper, versus the take and grab, elemental, hey, I can rap, look at me, everybody support me, and I don't give back hip hopper,
Right.
or so-called hipper, the rapper. There's Drake
Right.
and there's Kendrick, and there's just such an obvious. You can really look at Kendrick and see how somebody could do that, and it's not a fantasy. It's not something that's impossible. People try to make it seem like we're talking fantasy talk or something, and
Hmm.
it's not even
Hmm.
that difficult. It's not that hard. He got red and blue shaking hands. Did they stop killing each
Yeah.
other? No, but did they want to? Did they do some improvement?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Did he put the responsibility back in their lap to
To
do
do
that?
right. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He
100%.
instilled, a different image of the hood that we can be proud of. That is he giving back to the community? Yes. I mean, it's just I can name it over. I can name and name and name, and now
Right.
he's a hero in the actual eyes of like of commercial hip hop. And it used to be that way when people did self destruction, when people did fight the power. These are examples of how corporate America can even benefit from black people deciding they want to come together. I mean, look, it was a
Hmm.
payday for the Super Bowl because of Kendrick deciding to
Right.
do what he did. He didn't just
Right.
do a lights action pyrotechnic show. He did
Hmm.
a thought piece, almost a political
Yeah.
thought piece about
Yeah.
America.
Absolutely. Right.
And he didn't have to do that. So for sure, for
Right.
sure, for sure, it's not rocket science to get back to the community, and it don't gotta
Hmm.
take out of your pocket. So when he's still rich, he's still taken care of for the rest of his life,
Right.
and
Right.
he made sacrifices in the name of hip hop and in the community, and wouldn't stand for anything less. And
Al-
so let's do
Right.
it.
Also, just keeping with Kendrick a little bit, when a lot of the younger people have asked me at my job, what did he mean by the culture? Remember, I don't remember which one of the songs, but he was like, "Yo, the culture with me.
I'm what the culture
I'm
feel.
with the culture feel."
Yeah.
A lot of
Hmm.
people, a lot of young people were like, "Well, what did he mean by that?" I was like, "Oh, real easy. You know what I mean?" And
Hmm.
see, that difference that you're distinguishing that I've been drilling in people all the time. So
That's what your
I
book
was
is
trying to,
about.
I was right. I was like, well, I said there's a whole different group of us that will relate to Kendrick a whole lot more than Drake.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I was like, just based. I said, let me give you an example. I'm an MC. I come from an era of MCing where ghostwriting is an absolute no-no. It's an
Right.
absolute no-no. That's not
Yep.
what we did. Now,
Nope.
I
Right.
explain to people all the time. Ghostwriting is an industry technique that
Hmm.
R&B's been doing for years. It's an
Hmm.
industry technique used
Yes.
to make sure these people get these albums out, to get
Hmm.
to they honor their little contracts and their little deals or whatever. I was like,
Right.
But
it's real.
again, in R&B, that's not ghostwriting. That's just somebody else writing a song for you. And
Like a collaborator.
when you
A
look in the credits,
collaborator.
it's going to say so and so. That's just a part of R&B.
Right,
When you look in the credits, it's going to say, "Oh, Smokey Robinson wrote this," or whoever wrote it,
right,
because they're not trying to. Ghostwriting is literally, I'm going to pretend that I wrote
right,
it,
right,
and you sign an NDA saying that you can't tell that you wrote it,
right.
and we're going to go off into the sunset like Drake wrote it. And of course, that's a no-no in hip hop because
Right.
unlike R&B, you're supposed to be speaking from your own experience, and so having a ghostwriter robs it. It makes it like pop music.
Right. It's
Right.
and that's exactly, and thank you. That's beautiful what they said. That's why I've explained that very thing to people about the
Hmm.
difference. And a lot of young people be like, "Oh, okay, I understand." I was like, "Yeah, like yo, Drake had to go to real people in Atlanta to even act like he had this certain image that he
Hmm.
was trying to portray." Whereas Kendrick
Hmm.
is from Compton.
Right.
Snoop Dogg told people, "Yo, Kendrick got the whole Cali.
Hmm.
He got both them gangs ready, yo, to
He
ride.
had him
Right.
Do not do." And that's hip hop. As I explain to people, I was
Right.
like, "Yes, that's powerful." And
Right.
yes, he does because of what he did. Where in the hood, he
Hmm.
came back.
Right.
I said it's simple. It's a simple, and I've been able to explain that. And like she's right,
Right.
we've been having this hip hop camp for years, and we would always
Right.
have to go to MCs that the children, yeah, we'd be like, yeah, KRS and sons of the children be like, who? But I
But we
don't
got to go way back in time to even give them examples
of
of those type of
those
MCs.
type of
So
MCs.
that's why I
So
Right.
love Kendrick because I
yeah,
don't have to go way back to the damn
Hmm.
'90s every time
yeah,
I want to say something. And then of course
Right.
now I sound like an old
We
head.
have a contemporary to reference right here,
And
he's
so
active,
if we have
so the
somebody,
youngins don't
somebody
gotta be, oh, he's
yeah,
washed, or
right, right. Like
right.
he ain't
even
hitting.
people of other races are like, yeah, like I'm feeling that. Like
Right.
it's so popular. It's a meme. It works on so many subliminal levels. And this is I miss I miss it being like this. This is the era we grew up in, and it's got us writing again. It's got us literally making music again, and it's a good feeling. You
That's
know what I'm
dope.
saying?
That's a good
Yeah,
inspiration. One
yeah.
thing I wanted to touch on when you was when you have referenced having brothers in the red and the blue, the brothers that all blood and crip together on stage, shaking hands, hugging, vibing, giving each other black love, right? Versus the negativity that gangs are often identified with, right? Because the reality is, right, gangs are a negative thing. Brothers are killing each other in the streets, right? But what that displayed was, it may not be the answer, right? Um, it may not mean that there's a truce, but there's dialogue, and there's an energy, a positive energy flowing amongst the brothers. And now, being that they've had that, hey, we was just with the brother on stage the other day. Let's call the brother up and let's talk that out versus going to the guns. Cause I know the big homie over on that side, and he would hate to see us, you know what I'm saying, squabble or take it to the guns. Just seeing so much brothers from different sides giving each other love, and now they have an open dialogue because they recently been together. And now it puts a responsibility amongst those brothers to carry themselves in a different light. You know what I'm saying? And I hope they continue that, because that's something beautiful. And I hope it influences the younger brothers in the community, because the younger brothers don't even, like, they don't even care for the older brothers. I'm not even talking about the OGs or the old heads, even brothers like that's in our 40s. They don't care for us. It's
Right.
only them. And we need to have the young brothers look at the older brothers and say, yo, if that's how them brothers is moving, we gotta move in that same type of page. We gotta strive for more positivity. We gotta find better ways for conflict resolution. And we if the beef is real, let's call so and so, one of the elders, one of the big homies, one of the brothers that has some sense, so we could get somebody to talk this out and diffuse our problems rather than go to the guns. That's what I hope the youth take from that, that we can reach out to one another and find a solution versus, the killing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's serious. There's too much brothers dying in the inner cities and all over the world, for those that's living in the gang culture and those that are emulating the gang culture now, that just want to like be down with it, but they ain't even real. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Yeah,
a dope side to gang culture, that camaraderie side. Because I always have been infatuated with gang culture, gang brothers and sisters.
Indeed, same here.
And then I think it's no coincidence that we also are part of the community hip hop movement because, as we know, hip hop comes from that very same exact spirit.
energy.
That's why I love your book
Hmm.
because that's what your book is about. And Kendrick is just he pulled exact the very heart of your book is displayed in what he's been doing in these past few months. With having these brothers holding hands and even the not like this
Hmm.
video, just a whole sea full of people in red and blue and then the parallel between red, white, and blue on some America stuff, just
Hmm.
brilliant stuff. But calling back to that original spirit of okay, y'all know there's more that a gang can do. Look at the Black Panther Party and the key
Hmm.
word being party. The concept of how politically we can move with that same
Hmm.
energy with them same brothers can
Hmm.
take that energy and move it in another direction and be just as powerful as anything you've ever seen. And so I love that because that's that again, that fight the power, that ghetto brothers, that black spade, that type of energy, woke
Indeed.
up again, in somebody young and
Right.
undeniable. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Something that I'm learning. I work with a young Pyru. I think he's a big homie in his set, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
And so I'm getting a big homie vibe from him, and it's working. L1, just to let you know, at least in my community per se. He, so basically, he be telling me stories like, "Hey man, the young homies won't chill, yo," because close they call him like you just because I can tell you into the culture. You
So
deal
around
with
what
him.
age you think is he? He kind of put a
Big Stan,
you
Big Stan,
51.
yeah, Big Stan. Big Skin. He 38. He like
Okay.
38 years old.
So he talking
So
about the 25-year
the
olds
25
and
to the 24 year
30
old. So
young.
he's giving
Okay.
me a whole thing with the culture. And what I like about what he's telling me, he was like, he was like, yeah. He was like, one of my young homies found out, one of my young homies hit his wife. So you had to fuck him up. I was like, real? He was like, oh no, we don't do that, bro. And he was just
I like that.
explaining the
Hmm.
moral
Yeah.
code of
Right.
Pyru. He was like,
Mhm.
oh no, bro,
Mhm.
deadbeats, rapists. He said, oh no, no, no,
Mhm.
we
Right.
don't
Right.
do no
Right.
more stuff like that. He was explaining it to me. And he was just telling me that the young dudes think that being in a gang is shooting, robbing, and bugging. So
Mhm.
he's had to explain to them, hey yo,
Right.
look, man,
No, it's a
y'all,
code
y'all
of
look.
conduct,
First of all, for those
accountability.
of y'all still out here
Right.
selling this dope, yo, chill. And if you're gonna keep doing it, yo, invest your money in the hood, man. Start buying
Right.
some of this land, yo. Let's start thinking more. And that's what he like, yo.
Hmm.
He said, I'm tired of y'all calling me with this dumb stuff. He said, yeah,
Right.
I went through my chambers. I got my stripes, no
Mhm.
doubt, but I was young like y'all,
Mhm.
and I wish I had done it different. He was like,
Right.
can we
Right.
please, can we just please, boom, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then, because he know I'm in Union, coming from
Right.
Macon. And when I broke all that down with him, he was like, "Yo, I didn't know hip hop came from." Yeah, bro.
Hmm.
Yeah, I said,
It's
Yeah.
the
I said,
gangiest.
yeah, man,
It's
that's.
the gangiest thing
I said,
ever.
yeah.
Gang, gang.
I was like,
Yeah.
I
yeah, that's
love
what I
it.
said. The whole
I
science of
love
it. I
it.
said the whole science. I said, and I ain't gonna front, man. That's hip hop leadership to me. That's
Hmm.
that's hip hop politics to me. That's how we look in the
Right.
street with the people.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
Hmm.
get the
Mhm.
penicillin from the hospital. If y'all like to provide for the people, we will do it. That's
Hmm.
hip hop to me, and that's yeah, that's the
when
overall. You know
when
what I mean?
I mean even in mob culture, even in Italian culture, if there's
Hmm.
at least back in the day, I don't know about now, but back in the day in the movies or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
there's a dude beating his wife. There's a dude, you know, doing something in the community, and then somebody come to the don and say, hey, you know,
Get your
Yeah.
man.
get you, he owes me money, and he da da da,
Yeah,
and he's out
yeah,
here with my cousin and do, and then they handle it. You know what
right.
I'm saying? So
Right.
I like the idea of policing our own communities. I like the
Yeah.
idea
It's
of
important.
accountability for young people. When I first
Yep.
met one of my first gang friends, I actually had a boyfriend that was in the gang. He was in a Georgia gang that they wore all white. And he had been through a lot. He had been through a lot. We were in high school. He had seen more shit than a grown man or whatever, and he was really traumatized from a lot of what he saw.
Hmm.
And that's when he told me like, yeah, like, you know, and he's like, nah, when we join, he's like, there's books we got to study, like we got to know, you know, the OGs, and we got to know the history. And he's like, there's just certain, you know, like we can't tell, like he's like, I'm not even supposed to tell you some of the stuff I'm telling you now. He's like, you know,
Right.
and then there's you know, I just love stuff like this. I'm so Egyptian. Like he loved it was symbols, and
Hmm.
I love all of
Hmm.
that. I love it. Give me gang signs.
Right.
Let's code
Right.
walk. Let's have let's patch up. Let's all of it. And it
Hmm.
gives order to that wild energy and that
Right.
tribal energy that runs through all of us, especially the men.
Indeed, it does. Indeed.
And if when it's done right, it's dope. It's powerful. It's
Right.
dope, and I like it.
Yeah,
I
Well,
like it.
look what you said, Fats. The brother was talking about y'all got to stop calling me with the madness. He was actually telling the brothers he was encouraging them for empowerment. If
Hmm.
we talking about like, yo, this is let's start talking about buying land. That's empowerment. Now we talking on a different level, and that's a real big homie. That's God and the brothers towards powerful stuff, not
right,
the negativity, not the setbacks, but the move forwards. You know
right.
what I'm saying? Because we got too many brothers leading the youth to the graveyard, to the prisons. But if you got a brother that's leading the youth and saying, nah, like that's not how we moving, we got to talk about opening up this black owned business. We got to talk about how we gonna obtain some land so
Hmm.
we can have a when the brothers get jammed up or they don't got a place to stay, we don't got to go to a shelter and go down that path. That's empowerment, and that's what we need in a community.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
Self-Made
saying?
Garvey type spirit too.
True indeed.
For
True
real, for
indeed.
real.
So yeah,
I rock with it.
it's I'm and being around my brother's big scheme or whatever. I've learned a lot. Just about the changes that are being made, and I know that we're influencing him, right? Because he has his women issues, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Young brother still hurt by women. Ex-wife
Hmm.
got him on child support. He hot. So all
Right.
these things, da da
He
da,
bitter, yeah.
and I realized my role in his life, though we're coworkers. You know why you brought into people's lives, especially us big homies, us OG. People call us. He called me OG.
Hmm.
Gave me that. You know what I mean? I ain't telling him to call me that. He gave me that or whatever. But it's just that's my role. I realize my role in his life is to make sure that he understands. Like, no, man, now, and then he'll admit. I was like, well, Scheme, did you, is she completely tripping? And he'll smile. Nah, man, I did.
No,
Okay, come on,
she
bro.
got
You know what I mean? And so,
she got
Hmm.
points too,
and that's
bro.
the whole thing. I'm just getting my
Hmm.
young brothers to realize, come on, man. Let's because once you own up to the mirror, you can move forward, man. You know what I mean? You ain't got to have all that weight on you. You can move forward and realize, and
Yes,
then
sir.
be better in your
Yeah, I'm about to say you
relationship.
got to
Y'all
treat the
got two
women
children.
better.
Right.
got two children, so go ahead and and work that out or whatever. So, but yeah, man, it's I think I like the direction we're moving in, even with all this Trump craziness and people. Like I said, I
Hmm.
stay positive. I keep my eyes on the prize. Why? Because of hip hop culture. I tell people that all the time. I say, yo, I'm not gonna front. I said, I be telling people, I said, listen, okay, I'm gonna give you a picture right quick. Okay, so you in the Bronx, right? You're 14 years old. Buildings are being burnt down daily,
Mm.
right? And then you get a newspaper article. You walk by your mom, and your mom read a newspaper article, and the president of the United States says New York dropped dead, as if your neighborhood ain't already tore up. I
Right.
said,
New
how would
York
that make
Drop
you
Dead
feel?
is
I was like, yo, I ain't
wild.
gonna front, man. Hip hop been here, yo. We been
Right.
here. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
like, so I just
Right.
wish we would understand and know this particular part of us in hip hop and know what to
Right.
do in this
Hmm.
situation. New York, I said, yo, the creators of hip hop saw the worst, arguably the worst neighborhood in the history of the world, yo. Arguably. I was like,
Right.
and for them to do what they did,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? I said the next they created an environment of their own. Yep, it was partying. They were young, but they created an environment of their
Hmm.
own. So I'm
Hmm.
encouraging the next 50 years. Let's cycle back to that
Hmm.
knowledge, to that community activism, to that survival activism that hip hop was founded in.
Yes,
Hmm.
indeed.
Take care of the babies, and then they'll buy the records
Right.
Right.
when you drop a
Yeah,
record.
we got it
If you in the
backwards.
hood feeding the
Right.
people, feeding da da da, you did okay. They might support you a little bit now because you in the hood. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Doing for the community. So,
Yeah.
yep,
Um, Speaking of the culture, off stage, your book.
yes,
That's your first book, right?
yes.
That's your first book. Thank you for sending it to me, a couple years ago. And I also appreciate what you wrote inside the book. I showed it to my wife, and I thought it just like just seeing a personal memo just it just lit a fire under me. Made me read the book with that much more excitement. You know,
I appreciate that, man.
no, I appreciate you for real, and I appreciate your work.
Of course.
And I think it's mandatory, man. Like all the Zulus should have that book, and everybody that's remotely interested in hip hop, true hip hop culture. It's important to know what took place and what led up to the culture. So, can you tell the people that haven't read the book or are not familiar with it a little bit about the book, and
Yes,
then, of course, where they could get it from to support and get jewelry is mandatory for those that love hip hop. You know what I mean?
I sincerely appreciate. I sincerely appreciate it. Yes, the book is about the what I like to call the prehistoric era of hip hop, which often gets overlooked. So the book is entitled Off Stage. The title was blessed and given to me by the Professor Griff of Public Enemy. So the book means a lot to me. He made me promise to finish it. But when I gave him I guess the thesis of the book, if you will, he was like, "Yo," he even told me that hip hop need that, and he made me promise to finish it, especially since he gave me the
Mhm,
title. And so the book is about the true cultural aspect. To me, what makes hip hop a culture in the first place? The
mhm,
elements that everybody has been kind of basing what you would call a culture of in this first 50 years are the artistical aspect of the culture. Where the musical aspect of our culture definitely started in '73 with Cool Herc, no true indeed, playing them on
mhm,
his playlists and playing them breaks. That is the science, right? That is
mhm,
how hip hop music started. However, when you look up the definition of culture, it requires that you have more than uh, DJs, breakers, MCs, and graph writers. So, for instance, the definition requires that you have a belief system. So, once I did the research for the book and started to realize, I was like, well, what do we believe in? And have we ever had a belief system? And when I did my
mhm,
research, I found out that we did. So, my book is based on the element which I call knowledge. We call it knowledge of self. I just learned a whole lot about knowledge of self versus knowledge from a brother that's still in the NOI out here. He really hit me. I did a post and he hit me and really dropped the true science of even the poor righteous teaches the science of it and according to the lessons or whatever. So that way
mhm,
I'm also writing a revised version. So I got my permission from him to be able to add that on. He was like, please do, because people are really confused about that.
mhm,
So that's what my book is really entail, kind of distinguishing and showing people that this is truly a culture. By putting knowledge as the first element and not the fifth, and
right,
realizing that when Africa Bambaataa made that proclamation when we were the Zulu Nation, he said that
mhm,
we need to bring knowledge back,
Back. Hmm.
mhm,
not oh we need to start having knowledge. We need to bring knowledge back
Right.
into hip
right,
hop. I tell people all the
right,
time, BAM is responsible for the continuation of knowledge, if you will, lessons in the
right,
70s with the Zulu Nation
right,
and the Affinity lessons. I tell people that all the time.
indeed,
So that is that is what makes us a culture. You know what I mean? When I
Hmm.
was your interview you had with the Lord Sharif, you know what I mean?
Mm.
All that information he gave us, yo, and that part one and part two, I was
Right.
I took so many notes, which are going to be a lot in the revised version because he dropped a lot and
You
really
did.
explained what I am trying to explain to people. So the book Off Stage is based on the true science and aspect of hip hop as a culture. What were
Right.
people doing? We were not graph writing, DJing,
Hmm.
breaking, MCing. We were doing
Right.
something very, very political,
Hmm.
Right.
very, very communal. You know what I mean?
Right.
And young minded people changing their minds instead of a
Hmm.
gang war. Let's
Hmm.
let's let's do something different, which is the crux
Hmm.
of the culture. You know what I mean? Which is
Right.
what my book, in essence, is about.
I love it.
Right.
And it's been making great rounds. I've been in a lot of the hip hop communities. I'm now a member because of my work, and I also want to thank you too, L1, before I move on, for staying on me. You know, when I first finished the book, you found that I was writing it. You stayed on me, whether it was Facebook message or whatever, just
Hmm.
like yo yo
Hmm.
yo yo yo
Lean into
union.
it too. Make sure you can see it.
Yep, union, union, union. We up, yo, fats. We recognize your work. And another reason why I have a lot of respect for you too is because you and Gorilla Will, y'all showed me the true essence to me of what hip hop culture is about. And me
Hmm.
being an OG, you have to be given that title. To be a Zulu King, you have to be
Yeah.
given that title, and it should
Right.
always be given by someone younger than you. I really
Hmm.
feel like that. And when
Hmm.
y'all gave me that, that meant the world to me. You
Yeah.
know, for
And
younger
they,
brothers to be like,
you
okay,
deserve it.
Fats, your works,
Hmm.
here you know, boom, boom, boom. And I sincerely appreciate that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that has fueled me, brother. So we have definitely fueled each other in
No doubt.
continuation to get this to strive and get this hip hop culture right. But in essence, that's what Off Stage is about. It's about young people letting people know that hip hop has been mature. We have a very mature element to us. We have a very aware element to us that has protected a community, and so that we could play break beats, so that we
Hmm.
could break.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Those were a reflection of what was going on already. I tell people all the time, when the first time I saw Flashdance was the first time I think I was ever exposed to breaking, right? So the end of Flashdance Rocksteady they're doing. I said, well, hold on a
Right.
second. Them boys on concrete. You know what I mean?
Or
And so it made me
or
kind of think back. I'm like, well, why would they even do that? And it didn't take. It took my whole Zulu Nation experience me writing this book to realize is, yo,
hmm
given what they were living in, oh,
hmm
standing on their back on concrete, that was nothing.
right.
That was
Right.
nothing
Right.
compared to what
Right.
they had went through culturally
Hmm.
all the time. So that's what the
Right.
book was is reflecting. You know what I mean? And I've been able to teach people that based on that. Like the other day, I was explaining to the guys at the school at one of the older white guys from my generation, right? Older white guys at the job. He said, "Hey, Kirk," 'cause they call me Kirk at my job. He said, "You remember, man, when Run DMC, used to had the Adidas with those shoestrings or whatever?" And he asked me, he was like, "Do you know why they did that?" I said, "You know what's interesting? You would ask." I said, "Culturally, back in the day, I said, you remember how when school came in and me and you could get shoes, our mom could get us some shoes." I said, so back in the day in the Bronx, when it was time for the kids to go to school, a lot of their parents couldn't afford to get them new shoes. But then they would tell their mom, "Hey, man, I'm gonna front these shoes starting to get too small." I said, you know what they would have to tell their child? "Hey, I'm sorry, but you gotta take the shoestrings out of them shoes, man. Go to school. We gotta
Mm.
clean them up, and we gotta."
Right.
And their mouths drop. I said, but that's hip hop
Mm.
culture. See, that's a part of the culture y'all don't understand. So when Run
Right.
DMC
Right.
did
Right.
that Adidas, that means a whole lot more to
Hmm.
those of to the people in the
Well,
Bronx
we take
or
it
the
and
people in
make
New
it
York.
fashionable, just
Exactly.
Right.
like
You know what
chitlins
I
or
mean?
anything else that we do. Chitlins are
Mm.
kind of delicious for it to be pig doodle and guts, but we did what we had to do, and we make struggle look sexy.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Right. Right.
in essence, that's what my book is
But can I
about.
say this about your book too? Because from a white perspective, watching you write that book, uh,
Add
it
on,
did
mama.
something for me. For one, I just love watching you. Any good woman going to want to watch her husband write and complete a book, and
Hmm.
see his dreams, come to fruition. I'm proud of you. But aside from that, it taught me a lot. As a heavy Zulu myself, I thought I knew. We thought we knew, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
Right.
I think
That's
you put
right.
you
But we're
put
still
a work
students.
like instead of you just kind of regurgitating everything that you had ever heard everybody else say, seeing that there were contradictions, and you reminded me of Malcolm X in this way. Instead of a lot of people wouldn't have the balls to do what Malcolm X did when he came back from Mecca, and he was like, you know what? I love you,
You know why, Elijah?
NOI.
Yeah.
I love you, Elijah. but I'm sorry, some of the stuff you taught me was just wrong. And
Right.
instead of me trying to go along to get along, I'm not going to do that because the people, the babies, they need to hear the truth about whatever. It doesn't take away from your message for me to carve truth out of it. So he's just like, hey, I
Right.
went to Mecca. You said that white man was so impure he couldn't even go on Mecca, but he was
Right.
praying beside white men. And,
Right.
and some other things that he had learned, and it just kind of disenchanted him and made him see that he had kind of been worshipful, and that he was overlooking what the true mission was, which was
Right.
the community and stuff like that. So instead of him doing what a lot of people would do, and this is going back to you, um, and like, well, I don't want to say anything. I want to say what's gonna get that amen already. That already everything I know is gonna get that amen.
Hmm.
Trailblazers are gonna say things that aren't gonna necessarily get that amen, but it's true. So
Right.
instead of you just being like, yeah, hurt, he did everything. Hip hop all
Right.
started there. You're like, no, it started with culture, and then here comes the music. But if we're
Right.
gonna even do elements, it still ain't the first element because 1965 is cornbread. So
Right.
even that is an unpopular opinion, especially
Hmm.
for a lot of New Yorkers. They don't want to hear that it ain't
Hmm.
all about Herc and it ain't all about Sedgwick and Cedar.
Right.
Um, they don't want you to play that down, especially being from Norfolk and not New York. So they're not trying to hear that, and so you still went forward anyway. And
Right.
I'll say this too about the book. It to me, it's a civil rights book. It's a book about
Indeed.
what happened
Indeed.
as a
What
result of
led up to the culture, right? What
hmm
led up,
hmm
yeah,
And so
what
in
pushed
that
it? Yep.
regard, it's very much about the '60s, and it's very much about the good fight. That it's
Right.
showing you that hip hop never we never put the baton down. We our
It's a
enemies are us.
historical piece. It's a
It's an
historical
historical
piece.
piece all
Right.
day, and it puts a
It's a
frame.
history book.
It's wonderful, and it puts a frame around uh everything that puts this perspective on it that I just
Right.
never ever thought about. I never ever
Right.
thought about, and it answers so many questions when we're trying to figure out. There was this time when Little Wayne, um, Q-Tip and them were looking to make Little Wayne a
Oh,
Zulu,
I remember El Warren.
and
Yeah.
it was a big, big to do among us in the Zulu nation. A lot of people didn't know how we felt
Mhm.
about that, blah blah blah,
I
and I
remember
Yeah, a
think
lot of people didn't like it.
a lot of
Yeah,
people didn't
but
like it, and
right,
it's understandable.
right.
But at the same time, like so I don't want to get into how I feel or didn't feel. My bigger point is, had we been looking at hip hop from more of a place like the way the book is framing hip hop, as
Hmm.
more of a political movement that just happens to have music as a vehicle for it,
Hmm.
um, I think that wouldn't have been as much of an argument because we
Hmm.
would look at, okay, but what does this brother do for the community? Like, who is he to the people?
Hmm.
Okay, he's this multi-platinum whatever selling artist. Okay, he's a rich man, a billionaire.
Hmm.
We know all of that. We know how he feel about vagina and drugs and all of that. What is he?
Hmm.
How does he? Kendrick not just an MC. Everybody's not going to deny his MC ability. But even if you wanted to deny his MC ability, kind of like what I said about Mad Skills. Mad Skills is a dope MC, but I like the way that the community feels about Mad Skills. That's how I'm judging Mad Skills as to whether or not
Hmm.
I like Mad Skills. Every time I ever saw
Hmm.
Mad Skills, he was in he just had a man of the people type vibe, and so that's
Hmm.
what hip hop is. You can't to
Hmm.
me you can't really be hip hop if you're not a man of the people. Now Wayne might be a man of the people, so me myself I didn't have an issue. I'm like I like bringing people like that in. Let's show
Hmm.
solidarity and not like judge people. But I got it. I understood why people had a problem with
Well,
it,
yeah,
but
Right.
we were trying to judge it on the music. So again,
right.
if we were judging it more on the culture, it just wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been as
But
difficult.
that's what I like
Can I add on real quick about the
Yes,
Little
yes, most
Wings?
definitely.
Yo, right. So and briefly, and I mentioned this in one of a previous episode months back, right, about Little Wayne wanting to be Zulu. So it was a big thing amongst every chapter. People were disputing it. People were rioting. People ready to violate the brother for even daring to come into true hip hop culture, right? Because they're like, yo, Little Wayne's music does not align with the principles and the values of a true Zulu, right? So it was a big thing. Q-Tip came to a Universal meeting in Harlem at the National Black Theater
Mhm.
to talk about it. So I met the brother in the hallway, and I discussed it with him and Muhammad Islam and a couple of other elder brothers. Right then he came in. He said he's gonna talk his piece amongst the crowd, and there's a little video on YouTube of him coming up there and explaining his piece. So apparently, Lil Wayne and Ninth Wonder and Q-Tip had a discussion where Wayne wanted to be more positive. He's a true hip hop connoisseur. He's a true hip hop head. He loves hip hop,
I don't.
and right, he wanted to be he wanted more positivity, and he wanted to learn the culture, and he wanted, I guess, like to be mentored by Q-Tip and Lil Wayne into the culture, true hip hop culture. So
Mm-hmm.
when he requested that, they said, if you want to learn the true culture, come into the Zulu Nation.
Mm.
So that's what they discussed bringing him in, and that's when Lil Wayne made that post. Please welcome me and join in into the Zulu Nation, and he put ZuluFaces.com on that tweet, and that had everyone up in an uproar, whether people liked it or not. He was basically saying that he wanted to be more positive. And when I heard that from Q-Tip saying that, it kind of made me calm down. And you got to respect it when a brother that's never been to New York or been, around true hip hop culture. And I don't know what he's been through because I'm just assuming
Right.
based off the reflection in his music that he's never really been around true hip hop culture. When I heard that, I couldn't dispute it no more. I said, well, if that's what the brothers want to take him under their wing, so that they could help him improve his life and be more positive, then I'm all for it. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to dispute it or challenge it. Who am I? I'm just one brother. My
I was about
opinion,
to say I don't know his
right?
heart, and to
Yeah.
me, he's definitely hip
Mhm.
hop. I can't even
Right,
say he's never
indeed.
been around true hip hop culture. I think he actually has. I don't think you rap
Right,
like that and you haven't. He hip hop as hell. Like especially
right,
since a lot of people don't judge hip hop off of what are his criteria, which is culture. They do judge it off music. If you want to do it off music, he's hip hop as possible. He's paid his
He's
own
very
dues.
talented.
He's paid
You
his
know what I'm
own
saying? Is
dues.
his music for me? Not
No,
necessarily,
not
because I don't like
necessarily me either.
content where you disrespect women,
Me either.
and he's overly vulgar. So
But
that
I'm
doesn't.
I'm gonna say this though. There's a lot of people who we would accept into Zulu without question, who have had so many things to say about women that are so ridiculous.
Yes, indeed.
Let's
You're right.
say if Biggie was still alive, he wanted to be a Zulu. Nobody would question it. Biggie has said
Right.
some of the most salacious things about women I can imagine.
Indeed.
Um,
Right. You
let's
true.
say
You're right.
Nas had a time in his career where he said certain things. Most
Yeah.
people definitely wouldn't question anybody from Wu if they wanted to be a Zulu. And again, I'm a
Right.
Wu head. I know their lyrics like the back of my hand. But
Right. Right.
they
Right.
could say some of the most salacious. I'm not gonna say it because that's
Oh,
probably
I mean, look at
offensive.
Ghostface song "Wildflower." Like,
I
yo,
know
B, I
every
F your
word.
friend. Yeah,
I
you
know
stink.
every word of Wildflower, and I'm a woman. So that
Right.
tells you the kind of cognitive dissonance that we have. So I think one thing that I felt bad about him for this is I felt like if he had been from New York, I think it would have been a little bit less of a, if not a lot less of a
Because that Zulu Nation, the
that some Zulu
Zulu
Right.
New
shit is
York.
very New
Yeah,
York.
yeah,
Had he been a little
Right.
older too, or
Right.
whatever as well, but he's from that whole other culture of hip hop that we don't know nothing about. But aside from
Right.
that, yeah, the misogyny. If we're gonna start doing that, then there's a lot of people that don't need to be in Zulu Nation.
You
Period.
absolutely right.
You know what
You
I'm saying? So
absolutely
that was
right.
my problem with it, and I'm like, let the man journey, like
Yeah.
let him journey. And so I like that, and I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed because I didn't know that story that you just told, but I kind of
Hmm.
felt like, why would you want to join unless you had some kind of sympathy for what was right about hip hop? Like, why would you want to
Right.
join otherwise? So it must be something he's trying to do positive,
Right.
and for to be met with that type of energy, that turned him off. And I'm from the, and I'll say this real quick, me and him both, we're from the conscious community. That happens a lot, where sometimes there'll be members of the conscious community who can be so um mean or
Hmm.
judgmental of people who want to come into the fold. It kind of
Right.
reminds me of people in church who don't like pimps and hoes,
the
but
same thing.
it's like Jesus, that's who he came for. He didn't come for, he's not trying to preach to the choir who already in the church. He's trying to get
Hmm.
the person who really needs it. Even
Hmm.
though the choir need to listen too, because they ain't shit either. But like, the
Hmm.
person who really needs it, the crackhead and stuff. What the medicine is for them. So I feel the same way about Lil Wayne, and he might have had a whole nother trajectory to his career since that had he been more accepted by us. And I'll say that.
Right.
I
I
also,
agree.
yeah, I also, and I know one of the things I remember, at least chapter 30, and because a lot of younger people, and the younger people are coming to us like, yo, Wayne trying to join, because again, we gave them the 49 laws, the 13 regulations, you know what I mean? We gave
Right.
them the whole
All
Zulu
Word.
that
shit,
deep
so they,
shit.
they were like,
Right.
yo, yeah, you know what I mean? Boom, boom. And so me, I was like, now again, after discussing it, we looked up and we respected the hierarchy. But our only issue, I guess, with us was with Ninth. So we felt like, okay, Q-Tip, okay. You know what I
Right.
mean? You bring a Lil Wayne in, okay. Some of us was like, well, Ninth, no doubt, I understand you talking to him and that's cool. But Mark Love brought you to me to help start your chapter. So,
Right.
no disrespect, Ninth, but
You rose up in the ranks because you can make
because you got a
beats.
great right, and
Right.
that's cool. You know what I mean? Or to some
Whereas
degree.
Q-Tip
But Q-Tip is one of the
is
only artists who we know for out of shadow of a doubt
who
that
never
Tribe
did
Called Quest
not.
was in the Zulu
Right.
Nation. He's like
Right.
one of the only
Yeah.
ones. right?
Right.
So I'm like, when Q-Tip said it, when his name came up, I was like, okay, well, that's granddaddy. He's a great. That's big. That's a big strike. That's a
Yeah,
big
if
Hmm.
piece
he
of
if
wisdom in the nation. So you know what I mean. That's how we felt down here. We was like, well, ninth, we feel you.
well,
How
I'm
you
glad
signing
Tip
on
vouched
to
for him
him?
too, cause
Yeah, you know what I mean. So yeah, so that's how we
You
felt
can you
about it.
elaborate a little bit on that for the listeners that probably wondering like exactly what happened? 'Cause so for the listeners, right? When Black Jedi Zulu was, I guess, at the inception, right? They connected you to the brother Ninth Wonder, right? And then I guess maybe taught him what Zulu is. What is it? I don't want to speak
yeah,
on it. I'd rather you speak on it.
it was like a
Uh,
twofold meeting
yeah,
because in one breath we met him through a whole nother vibe. Like there's a dude named Sam Rogers who is from that group, that bigger group that we're from called Junipers. Sam Rogers went on to become a person who really is good with photography, videography, and he started shooting people's videos. He shot some videos for some of the people that were working with Knife Wonder, who's from the group DMP. That's not his group that he's from. Again, very
Hmm.
lyrical niggas, and like so he shot some of their videos, and then one thing led to another. They ended up meeting with Knife to do some stuff
yeah.
because the
And
dude
that was just really just Black and
there
Decker.
was
He
well
became
black,
Cutlass Reed.
yeah, he was Cutlass Reed. That's why I said
Hmm.
from DMP. It wasn't DMP, but it was
Yeah.
Cutlass Reed from DMP. And so
Hmm.
it's just kind of one big connection between Knots, Knife Wonder, DMP, and even us. So long story short, he I don't know. He was looking. He said he was looking, or his friend or somebody was watching a video and was like, "Come look at this." And it was us. It was me and his video.
Yeah.
He was
Well,
rapping, and then all of a sudden, I walked up, kissed him in the mouth. The babies was in the video and all of that. And it's like, okay, it's like a rapping couple. And he actually wanted to sign us, but then
Hmm.
on some whole other stuff that had nothing to do with that.
Well, no, that's what happened because our relationship was supposed to have been signed to Jamila. Ended up being more
Hmm.
Zulu Nation relationship than anything else. Once he found, he
Hmm.
didn't know we was Zulu at first.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
See,
And
that's
then
what
when
I'm
he,
saying.
yeah,
It had nothing
and
to
when
do
he,
with each
right,
other.
and when he found out we was Zulu, I got more phone calls from him on that. You know what I mean? And we started
Okay.
dealing with him more on that. So what
Right.
really happened was Mark Love, because Ninth was trying to get in. Ninth was on the West Coast. Got with Mark Love. You know how big Mark was on the West Coast. So Mark was
Hmm.
like, "Yo, Chapter 30, the closest ones to you, rocking."
Right.
Right.
But he also we also told, well, look, get with Q-Tip. You and Q-Tip, you can call Q-Tip, bro.
Yeah,
You know what I
he
mean?
can
Hmm.
set you up like
He can set
lovely.
you up, love. You know what I mean? And so that's what he did. Now, one of the brothers that was also the Samuel Rogers guy, was shooting stuff with Ninth and Cutlass Reed. He kept the camera and did a video for that video that she's talking about that they saw. So Ninth saw that on Vimo and was like, "Yo, these people dope." Now another brother by the name of Sparks that's also in our group. He was
He's the
with
one that
Juan
named Black
that was
Jedi.
doing it. Yeah, he's the one that gave Ninth one of the Black Jedi name
Oh, word, that's
From the
dope.
group that we're talking
from
about.
the
Yeah.
same group, from the same Juniper's crew that we come from or whatever. They
Hmm.
became videographers at this time, and
Hmm.
when Sparks, because they were going down there on a normal, working with him with video stuff, and my man Sparks gave him because Sparks is a humongous Star Wars head. You know what I mean? And so he
Hmm.
gave him that Black Jedi chapter 30.
Mm.
So
That's
yeah,
dope.
yeah,
Yeah, and then we
That's
just for
peace.
whatever reason we
yeah.
never did whatever with Knife. He ended up focusing more on Rhapsody and stuff. Like we knew her and everything before she blew up and all that stuff or whatever. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So he's always been he knows us, but
That's dope. That's dope. I was building with the brother on and off through social media and emails like during the whole Bambaataa scandal, and I was encouraging the brother to bring Black Jedi Zulu into the Zulu Union as we were striving to organize it. You know what I'm saying? But there were, of course, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of different energies, and it never happened. But I was really hoping that they came through because I know he had wrote out that letter where he had resigned or whatever, and
Hmm.
to me it's like, let's not let our work or our legacy go in vain based on one man's actions. Let's pick it up. And peace of Ninth Wonder. I got the utmost respect for him. I got the utmost respect for Black Jedi Zulu. I think it's dope that y'all are a part of that history, and I appreciate it. And if they ever want to get into the fold of the Zulu Union, let's make it happen. The brother was, member. I don't know if y'all was on the Zoom meeting with us a couple years back. He was on the Zoom meeting for one of the Zulu meetings, Zulu
Yeah.
Union meetings that we had. Because I know he's in contact with Kitty Wu and
Hmm.
King Chasm out in 206 Zulu in Seattle. So
Yeah.
they have like a pretty strong connection with him.
yeah,
And he's welcome to always come. He's family. He's
Yeah.
welcome. The door's always open
If I
for
ever
Black
catch
Jedi Zulu.
I'll encourage him and let him know, what's the science of it.
Hey,
Because I
like
think
we still
if
here.
we were
Come
able
on,
to
man.
sit down with him and let him know, because we met with him, he came to a day party, right? The MEAC, it was the MEAC tournament for Norfolk State right there. He came to a day party and did a day party right there, right?
Hmm.
And we knew he was going, so me and no, we went to support it on some Zulu, right? Just went to
Right.
support that day, took pictures with him, and he sat us down and he was like, "Hey man, he said, yo, no, the World Council going through a lot. I guess the World Council was going through a lot at the time, and they were
Right.
kind of, in so many ways, kind of ready to kind of give him a whole lot more responsibility as maybe a World Council member of Zulu at the time. And we was
Right.
kind of building on that. We was adding on with that because that's when everything was changing. Right when they was giving rising power to the ancestor Queen Pepsi. Remember, they started giving her reins back, and everything was
Right. She
starting to
became
work.
the president of the World Council.
And then we were starting to get, right when she did it, we were starting to get organized communication from the council. Something like, you know what I
Right.
mean? It was really
Hmm.
Right.
coming along or whatever.
It
And
was
that's why,
flowing. It was flowing. Yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
it
it
was
was.
nice for a second
Yes,
there.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
always feel like, no disrespect, though Bam's heinous crimes is whack, there's a small part of us that always felt like, because he was starting to look out for Dr. York a little bit. We did the security for Beyonce at Georgia. I don't think people realize how organized Zulu Nation was. I think they thought we were
Yeah.
just a bunch of
Yeah,
breakers and DJs
what
and stuff.
happened
You know
with
what I mean?
him was the timing of it was also
Was
very
kind of
nice
was
to
ill.
destroy what was
What
starting to
what the
bubble.
momentum that Zulu
Yeah,
Nation was
even
starting
the
to
Little
have.
Right.
Wayne thing, the fact that Little Wayne
Right,
was about to like
right.
Zulu was starting to be on the big stage again more.
A little,
Hmm.
yep,
Yeah, and
sure
then all of
was.
that happened.
And
And
then everything happened the same. So I don't think there's no coincidence to all that. But yeah, true indeed. Yeah, I would love to have Ninth would be a very strong. And I think if he really understood what the union was about, where we was, we just want to keep our stripes, bro.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time that my experience, me being on the Hip Hop Educational Center research hip hop research committee, me and Reyes and Prism, we up there. Why? And I tell them all the time, my Zulu Nation stripes. I'm here, y'all,
Right.
based on my Zulu Nation work, yo. For real, to be
Right.
honest, you know what I'm saying. My book is because I was a Zulu Nation member, and a responsibility as a chapter leader is to teach the history to your chapter.
I think he
That's
Right.
might
just
have
my, you
he
you
might
are
have inherited something that he wasn't ready for. I definitely don't think that he was prepared for literally immediately after he built this chapter the whole nation topples because of Bambaataa, and now you have to kind of pick a side, and you have to figure out do you believe
because he
him or
was what
not,
two
or
3 years. He won't that long to
yeah,
Right.
serve.
5 minutes, and
Right.
then
Right.
it's
Because some
yeah,
people ain't honest with what's going on. They certain people brushing things under the rug. People ain't being truthful. And then people leaving, people reorganizing. So it's like where do you go? It's like,
right.
do I go with the younger brothers and sisters that started the Zulu Union, or do I stay in touch with the elders? Plus, you got probably Q-Tip playing a certain role behind that as well, who's wrapped up with the elders. So
Yeah.
here you have it. You got the elders on one side, still in the Universal Zulu Nation, and the younger brothers and sisters in the Zulu Union. And that's not to make any disrespect towards the elders or any
No,
disrespect towards the Zulu Union, because they taught us the culture, right? Um, and this is just based on just striving to continue and separate from the negativity that was going on at the time.
Yeah.
But that's it, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody better. At the end of the day, we're just striving to continue on, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, on a positive note.
I think Prism said something in one of my last hip hop educational centers meetings that was dope. And he was talking about his days in the Zulu Nation when Pop Masters
Hmm.
Fable and them would come to the meetings and y'all would be there with him or whatever. He would say
Hmm.
things like what the Zulu Union is doing now. And that's what Prism was trying to reflect to people in the meeting. He was like, well, Pop Fest Fable and I'm like, look, man, y'all got to be the ones to do this. Y'all know we want that educated, down there in New York, whatever. Y'all know we I mean, y'all see us in these documentaries. We barely well spoken. You know what I mean?
right.
So
Right.
y'all, Rob, L, and y'all the ones go out and teach this history and this culture, man. You know what I mean? We set it up. We the pioneers, no question. But y'all got to be the ones
Yeah.
making timelines and teaching.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Definitely.
And so that's what
So
Prism
Yeah.
was saying. That
that's dope.
that torch in so many ways was kind of passed to us anyway. Yet at times, but the problem I think that Prism was mentioning that I see too is the minute the young people do that, now we get stiff on. Now here come the pioneers, stiff on
Right.
at the podium like yeah, and we like yo, you
Word.
know what I mean?
Well, again,
It's,
in a roundabout way, it's the Little Wayne thing again. It's he represents the youth. He's still called Lil Wayne. He a grown
right,
ass man. He represents the
Right.
youth.
Right.
We watched him grow up. We watched him be
Right.
mentored by older people who may or may not have been positive for him,
and done right by him,
especially
baby, baby,
baby
right,
and then or whatever. But
Hmm.
then also juvenile and them had in a positive way. took him under and looked out for him and stuff like that and made sure he was good. And it's just one of them things where like you try to do better and here you come. And like I said, yeah, the old people will stiff arm you. I mean, just even as a woman and as a younger person, me trying to kind of join the gods and cipher with the gods and like the 5%, ciphers and stuff, and kind of being stiff armed myself for being
Hmm.
female and being younger, whatever it is. And I'm just like, damn, like, you know what I mean? You turning me away from the very thing that you saying that you want me to.
Yeah,
Right.
you want
You
me to
know
have
what
the
I mean?
lessons or don't you?
Yeah, do
Yeah,
you
it was
want
kind of
why
a
are you
Right.
thing.
why are
You
you
know what I
kind of
mean?
gatekeeping the lessons and then
Yeah.
using it as a way to kind of
Right.
judge me? I mean, you know what I mean? You
Or
ain't no
have sex with me or
all,
whatever.
all day. That's really
Right.
what it.
Right.
That's really what it is.
Right.
They will
And
use
you
it
know
as
what I think also I think like what it is, right, is like they don't want to let the students teach because the teacher is still at the head of the class,
come
and
on
they don't
now.
want to give up. They don't want to give up the piece of chalk, and they don't want to let the student go up there. And I think that's a respectful way to look at it, right? Because we don't want to like divide it, but they're like, the teacher is still here. The one that lived it
It is like
is
that.
here. Y'all learned the culture from us. Y'all got to see the culture, but I'm here still. So I'm gonna teach y'all the culture. Why you want to learn from my student when the teacher is
When the
here
teacher is
still?
still here.
Well,
And
honestly, hip hop
respectfully
kind of
keep it.
suffers from that anyway.
Right.
And that's when we're starting to get into some of the deeper problems that hip hop has. Hip hop inherited every problem that that black people have, and that's one problem that we have is that a lot of our elders. I mean, it's Willie Lynch syndrome. So a lot of our elders and our youth are competing still. A lot of our elders didn't see the glory that they really wanted to see all the way, and so there's still what Method Man said. Don't wind up like my old dad, still searching for them glory days he never had. Like a lot of us are. We never. Even when all that stuff went down with Bam and everything, you saw everybody kind of clawing at each other for a piece of that credit, like like, hey, I was there, and almost like
Hmm.
me, everybody saying me, and there's no baton being passed because when people are supposed to be in the shoes, they don't be in them. Like a lot of us are still trying to be young, and we still feel young. 5
Hmm.
minutes ago, it was the '90s, and I was young, and I was the hip hop person.
Right.
And so, and then
Right.
here they come. They don't rap as good as us. A lot of times, we feel we may or may not be right about that, but in our minds, they don't rap as good as us. So no, we don't want to pass them the baton because we don't even we haven't even equipped them to
Hmm.
to do where we know it. You know what I mean? So there's that too.
Hmm.
There's not only the fact that we don't want to share the chalk, but we know that we haven't really taught you how to use the chalk good either. So
Right.
it's kind of like, well, like when my mom would come behind me and do the dishes again, like we don't want, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
sometimes you
Right.
just need to let me do some bad dishes
Did a
for
good
you.
job, but you didn't do
Right.
it as good as I'm gonna do it.
Right. You're not gonna do it as good as me. And I know I
Right.
suffer from that a little teen. I love the youth. I love the youth. I'm not one of them elder type people.
Right.
But I do
Right.
hear like kind of the shitty music or whatever, and I'll just be like, oh my god, like I I shouldn't put I don't want Dre 3000 to stop rapping yet because it's almost like where am I gonna get my good hip hop? Like the new kids
Right.
ain't making it, so
Right.
I have to
But
hold on tight.
some are Coast Contra, Joey Badass. I mean,
Plenty
even
of
though
'em.
these brothers is not, they're not necessarily young, but they're younger, you know what I'm
Yeah.
No,
saying?
and
And I
there's
think,
plenty. There's way more than that. We
Yeah.
just gotta
right,
look. We gotta if we looking for it, it's gonna be there. But it ain't
right,
like it used to be where you could just stumble over a dope MC. Like now you gotta
right,
dig and dig and dig. And a lot of
right,
times I think we are scared to pass the baton because we scared that the kids are just gonna really, really ruin it already worse than we done ruined it. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So there's that too.
right,
We don't trust them, and that's our fault. We should teach them. You should you. It's like your mama being scared for you to drive. You driving her somewhere and she holding on to the thing, and it's just like, well,
Well,
you know,
everybody's frustrated.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody's frustrated with each other. Kind of like
Yeah,
when academics was like the elders is dusty. I'm like, okay, that's
you're right.
foul.
Again, it's Willie Lynch. We hate each other.
That was mad disrespectful.
Yeah,
it is.
Boom, boom, boom. And then what I was trying to explain to people, I discussed that at the job too, because again, the young dudes, some of the young dudes do feel like that. And I had to explain to them. I said, well, look, first of all, y'all, the elders back in the day, number one, I have been to conferences where the elders were telling us about the game, number one, right? But you know what we was learning, my era of hip hop, the elders were teaching us the lessons, God. They were teaching us how to live life.
Right.
You know, they won't, you know,
Right. The real
yeah,
jewelry.
that's cool. But we was with the 5%ers,
What
bro.
the
And
older
like in my
guard
era,
put
we
me
with the
on?
older guard.
Yeah,
We learned about how to become better men, yo. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
that's part of the
that's
culture
where
that,
I come from.
yeah, y'all understand that. Granted, no doubt. How can we teach? How can the elders teach you how to get the bag? They weren't really about the bag. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Y'all get the bag. You know what I mean? But again,
Right.
our relationship ain't right because that's why I was trying to tell you, young dude, y'all supposed to be teaching us now how to get the bag. Like
Right.
y'all investing in stocks. Again, we were not the financially literal generation.
Right. Right.
Our parents nor us for real learned a whole lot about it. We come, me or you, L1 come from. Oh, you got to go to work.
Mhm.
I
So
mean,
you know
and
what
we
I
Right.
mean?
had to recover from the crack and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So y'all young
Right.
boys out here doing these stocks, y'all making $10,000 a day. Put
Right.
you know,
Sneaker businesses and
And
all of
the
that. Like,
confusion that comes where the younger people, some of them want to, but they don't feel like we like them.
mm-hmm,
Same
uh,
way, you don't feel like that you can talk to the young person.
mm-hmm.
Then you don't have that problem. Rob ain't gonna have that problem. I'm not gonna have that
Cause
problem.
we hip hop
I
folks.
right.
We
right.
know the
I
language. Y'all
Right.
talk to
hip
them.
Yeah,
hop
no,
is
I'll be
going
bridging
hip
the
hop.
gap. I'll be bridging the gap
I
without a
bridge the
doubt.
gap,
Yeah.
Like,
and for me,
we
that
have
is the
to.
gap. I don't feel
Right.
the gap comes when we start talking about like when they start playing certain music and stuff, and I'm like, damn, I feel, and I'm hip as fuck, and I still be, I'm like, I feel kind of old right now. Like I'm not even gonna front.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know this song. I don't know who this is. I don't know who Lil
Mhm.
Baby. I don't know who Future. I don't know who none of these people are. And now they getting older, and I don't know who they are.
Right. And
So there's that disconnect. But other than that, I never felt disconnected
but
because I'm so hip hop.
and part of me like that disconnect. I be trying to explain to young people all the
Me
time too.
too.
I said, hey
My
man,
dad says that.
I like, hey man,
He like, I like being old.
my mom's was not trying to hear no Run DMC, bro. Point
Right.
blank, bottom line. And
And
I
you
won't
kind of
go.
don't want her to.
Yo, that was
This my
her. You know what I
thing.
mean? That's why I'm telling young
Yeah.
people. I said, angle front man, you really don't
Yeah.
want me with my pain. You don't want to see the crack of my ass like you keep showing me yours, do you? You know what I mean? Really want
Right.
you to walk around like as your OG, as your
Right.
Right.
eldest,
Right.
bro.
Right. Right.
That would
Don't
just
you
piss
want
you
me to?
off.
Don't you want me to be telling you that you need to come to work on time, bro? Ain't that really my responsibility? Young dudes be like, yeah, you
And to treat
right.
their mama
You
right and
absolutely
all
right. Yeah,
that.
do you want me in the club with you, bro? Trying to talk to the girls your age? No, you
That's
don't.
right.
So you don't want me listening to your
Yo,
music.
who's Unc over there with you right now? You
Yeah,
know
it's
they.
like, oh my bad. It's like,
You
sit
good?
down somewhere. Yeah,
Right.
let
Right.
me.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For real.
No doubt. And I said, and at the same time, though, if I ask you to just, hey man, yeah, okay, KRS One corner to you, but yo, listen to this song all year, right quick.
Right.
Live with that joint, bro. Is he whack
Right.
now? Yo, come on, man. You know, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
It's like, yo, for real. You know, it's boom, boom, boom. And bar for bar. I tell people all the time, do you know any of these young dudes that can deal with KRS on stage?
Right. 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 Right.
Be honest. Busta
Yeah.
Rhymes.
Not.
No,
Right.
Be
they ain't
honest,
named
Very
bro.
nowhere.
few. Hardly
Named
any.
nowhere.
Yeah,
Um.
I'm like
You know
so.
what the young Zulus used to say to me, and this used to bug me out. Because like in my chapter, right, I got, dudes that I've brought in throughout the years, young brothers that's
Right.
15, 20 years younger than me now at this point, right, into Zulu.
Yeah.
And like maybe 10 years ago or more, I used to ride with the young Zulus, and they'd be like, L1, I love chilling with you, brother. But yo, King, can you put a song on that was like from the last 10 years at least? You know what I'm saying? Because they in the V with me. They listening to OC. They listening to Boot
Right.
Camp. They listening to what I'm saying? I ain't
Cool
listening to
beats.
nothing from
Yeah, I mean,
2000, see, no way, because we in 2010, but I'm listening to 93, 94. They listening to Illmatic,
That's some Bushwick
and
shit.
they familiar with some of the joints, but they like, yo, just let me hear some Beanie Siegel or Freeway or something, L1, please.
At least a
Let
little
me hear
closer
something
to
from
the
my era. You
right.
know what I'm saying?
Hey,
So, but
we had
what's dope is that they put me on to a lot of young boy stuff, and what I'm saying, you
yeah,
start to like learn the good joints from their era. You know what I'm saying? And you share the culture. And now you show me one of your nice young dudes, and I'll show you one of the older heads that's nice. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? So we
Martha,
would share the culture.
yeah, Martha Diaz got a very good program she got going where she gets with children, right? And she'll tell the children, okay, look, your homework, go ask your mama who she used to listen to in hip hop. And then go ask your
Mhm.
grandma who she used to listen to in hip hop. And so it gives
Mhm.
the children a chance to go back and Nick the grandma go, you know what? Let me play that for you. Let me play that Sweet Tea for you right quick. You never heard Sweet Tea? Let
Mhm.
me play this like that
Mhm.
dog for you right quick. Boom. We're like, oh, ain't no females around.
It's
Yeah,
crazy
it
that you
won't
can
just
ask
salt
your
and pepper,
grandma about hip hop. Ain't that something?
ain't it? And then
Wow.
boom, but it's
Yeah.
dope because it's opening the children's minds up and it's connecting. And then like Prism says the same thing. Most children, like even the children we taught in our camp a lot of years, they start with Tupac. Tupac
Mhm.
is their cool hurt.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Yep.
and
Yep.
everything up or whatever. So everything under
Right.
Tupac, you really gotta drill them on. And I learned that or whatever. You know what I mean? But like you
Right.
said, I like to take the tack. I've become a better elder, like you said. I become a better OG and be like, you know what, man? Okay, all right, man. Let me. All right, man. And see, like the young people that run, they be like, yo, Frank, front. You need to hear this Griselda, yo. And so when I listened to Griselda, I was like,
Well, they
whoa.
know we got good taste. If it's dope, we gonna
I was
like
like,
it.
Griselda
Period.
dope.
Right.
But this is what I said to the young people. My homeboy was like, "Yo, listen to Griselda." I said, "I ain't gonna front, man. I've listened to Griselda a total of maybe 2 hours of my life." I was like, "They are
Mhm.
dope,
They are
though." I was like,
phenomenal.
but I ain't gonna front, bro." I said, "Yo, do you realize how long I've been in hip hop listening to
To
criminology, bro?"
criminology rap,
I said, "I'm not gonna
I'm
front, bro.
done.
As your
Mhm.
OG, I feel responsible for not listening to that no more. But not to mention,
Mhm.
if I'm gonna do the lessons, I said, and I teach people about the history and the culture. In the culture, there's always been a dichotomy. Is it the 8 ball or is it the lessons? Period. Point
Mhm.
blank bottom line. Those were the choices that some of us had to make every day. Free
Mhm.
food, 5% up, whatever. And I tell people
Mhm.
all the time, I was like, and so these things, the more I do the lessons and dedicate myself to the lessons, especially the spiritual lessons, I gotta start weighing this, man. I
Mhm.
gotta start really weighing
I
whether
gotta be accountable,
why I need
man.
to be riding and getting
Mhm.
let me pull up and I'm 51 years old with a gray beard, really rocking Griselda. Though their hip hop is phenomenal. The beats, the
Right.
rhymes,
Right.
they are doing it, but I cannot. And
But you
I
You
said
on a
it.
different frequency. You on a different frequency.
But you said it a minute ago. Without you saying all of that, they would recognize that. Like they would still love you and everything, but they wouldn't give you that OG title, that respect that they give you. If you were doing that, not that they would judge you and treat you bad if you listen to
right,
Griselda, but if you
right.
really lived there and your spirit resonated with Griselda, like oh, they wouldn't look at you nor your advice or anything you had to say really in that same vein
Mhm.
Yeah.
as you
Right.
making sure that you draw that line like okay no this is my generation that's y'all stuff I'm not mad at it it's dope
And
all
it's
right
dope.
it's
And
my
I'm glad y'all got them to listen to. And
right
these days it's out
but
there,
for
you know what I
me
mean?
that was
But
Mob Deep and whoever else so I already went through my
I've been there
you know what I'm
for
Right.
saying
20 years.
right
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
I've
Right.
been there, yo. I'm
yeah
like, yo.
I've already allowed
I was like,
space to listen to a little Sean Price be a little ignorant or
and
something like
yeah,
that
and D Man and Wiz,
Mhm.
they picked me up for that too. Cause they were like, that's all they play. Whenever I'm around, they play Griselda. Cause they we want to catch me
Mhm.
up, and I'm like, that's they were like, yo, you know what, Fats? They were like, yo, man, you are my OG, yo, and I'm like, yo,
you are
I'm like, yeah, they dope, man. I'm like, I can't,
I
and
can't live
I
with
love
them like that
Rock Marciano. I love Rock, yo. I
yeah
love Rock.
Wow.
me too
I can't do. You know what I
I
mean?
can't just listen
You
to
know what I'm
pimp and then I'm a woman
saying?
so then there's that
Now hold me
like
down.
I
I'm gonna hit this bathroom. Y'all
yeah,
hold
no
me down.
doubt. I can't sit and
Yeah.
just listen
Yeah.
to a whole bunch of pimp music. You know, it
Right.
ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. Like I listened to all of that when I grew up, and I knew every word and all of that. It's like
Right. Right. Right.
what I look like, man. So yeah,
Sis, what you got going on with Twitch? I know, Fats got his class like Thursday where he be teaching and doing the knowledge Thursdays, 10 p.m. But you're also active on Twitch. What are you doing with Twitch?
it's funny. A minute ago I was gonna say this, but like for our chapter has a lot to do with why I'm on Twitch. You know how you said you had the young people would maybe hip you to this or hip you to that. With us,
Right.
we had a big dance chapter. Our Fats is
Hmm.
a dancer, Gorilla Will's a dancer, and so
Oh,
me
I
and my
know.
folks, the chapter leader, we attracted a lot of the dance community. But it wasn't just the hip hop dance community; it was the entire dance community. So we had a lot of b boys and stuff every Friday, spinning on their heads, going crazy and stuff downstairs. Up here, we would be making beats, rhyming, smoking, doing whatever, and downstairs
Hmm.
they would be dancing. But there was a lot of so I learned a lot of funk music and house music and stuff from our youth. So that was
Hmm.
a very unique kind of thing because I almost never heard them listening to the young folks' music or whatever at the time. They would just I learned a lot of funk and house and other genres from them and watching them dance and all of that stuff. So one thing led to another. One of the dudes from our chapter named Floyd, well, we call him Floyd Vader, but he was called Decimus at the time. He's like half
Hmm.
his age, and I'm about 11 years older than him and myself. And he was a dancer. He's Gorilla Will's best friend. Uh,
I know
he
the brother who you talking about.
yeah. So I got like a few songs with him and stuff like that. That's my homie. But he what happened right before COVID? So I'm a voice actor. You know, what I mean, we was talking about that. So I was talking to Fats one day. Like I study about brand building and all that kind of stuff. I teach about it and all that. So I was studying one night about brand building. And the dude was like, "Yo, like streaming is the way. Like if you got a business or you got something, a message, or you trying to get an audience, streaming is the way to do that." Blah blah blah. So I told him at the time I was, photographer and stuff like that. So I was used to kind of being behind the camera, not in front of it. But I always felt like he was really photogenic and everything. So he's my muse. I take my pictures of him, I painted him, drawing him, whatever, right? So, um, I said, "Hey, you should stream." Like, he was working on his book then. He had the
Mhm.
first few chapters of it and everything like that. He was working on his book then, and he said, "Okay." So I picked up his phone, started recording him. I would be behind the camera and I would just ask him questions, and he would talk about the black spades and blah 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 blah. You could just hear me. One thing led to
Mhm.
another. I kind of got a little bit of confidence going. I started taking pictures of myself, stuff like that, and I started getting bold. I was like, let me go ahead and be on camera. Right after
Mm.
COVID came, I went live on Facebook and I taught my first tutorial about voice acting and stuff like that. It went really well.
Mm.
Everybody really loved it, and everybody all my life, people told me I should teach and stuff like that. So it kind of just spoke to a calling that we both have for teaching. Even when in the
Yes.
Zulu Nation, we did the infinity lessons and stuff like that. So I always that was mainly my responsibility, actually. So
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, I
I'll
would
shout
either
to
write
yeah.
them or I would procure them and teach them whatever blah, blah, blah. So uh, I was like a fish. I was right at home when it came to streaming. So one thing led to another. I really got into it. COVID came. I went through some stuff with hip hop that disenchanted me. Supposed to be on this big project with some all these women, and it didn't go through. And it just after so many years of just kind of dealing with some of the things you have to deal with when you do love hip hop, I was like, I'm kind of tired of hip hop. Like I was tired. I wasn't tired of the culture. I was tired of making music with niggas. If I'm being honest. So
Mhm. Mhm.
COVID came, everybody became streamers.
Mhm.
Because I was tired of it, and I was tired of kind of just the route that I was taking my show. I was like, I'm gonna reinvent myself, and I'm gonna become a gamer. I'm funny, I'm silly. Let me game. I went over there. I gamed for like 2 months. In like right, what this writing this January 2021 or whatever. I had been gaming for like 2 months. We wanted to teach the boys how to DJ. I started DJing
Mm.
house music, and that was it. That was it. That changed my
Right.
game. Changed my life. So
Wow.
one thing led to another. All the gamers were like, "Yo, when are you gonna DJ again? When are you gonna DJ again?" Because, like I said, musicians might not all like gaming, but all gamers like music. So it was a
Right.
good way for me to kind of get where I was going. House music is like
Mhm.
night and day from hip hop. We would drop a hip hop song. You tell your friends, they'd be like, "Oh, that's dope." Nobody cared. Nobody buy it. A few people might buy it.
Mm.
That'd be it. If you do house music, everybody supports it. They
That's
turn up.
crazy. The
They want to
community's
see who it
strong.
is. It never got commercial. When hip hop and house were coming up together at one time,
Mhm.
and then house just went away and hip hop kept going. Hip hop became very commercial. House is also very commercial, but it just went to the underground and
Right.
it stayed there. And so that whole DJ culture that's there, where people like to play undiscovered artists, all that stuff is still there. People eat new artists in house music, and it just they embrace me like no other community. And I started DJing. 4 years later, here I am. I DJ weddings and all kind of other stuff, and
That's dope.
Twitch
That's
stuff. So
dope.
I teach on
How
Twitch.
can we follow you on Twitch? Shout out your Twitch handle and all of
I'm
that.
Black Girl Gamer. And matter of fact, I don't know if y'all can. Hold on, let me see. Let me see if I can do this right quick. I'm Black Girl Gamer. Yeah, I don't, y'all, it's backwards. Don't worry about it. But I'm Black Girl Gamer, aka Nova Kane Omega.
Man,
It's
you,
on
I don't even know how to do what you just did right
because
now.
I'm on OBS. Yeah, like the stuff I'm doing, you whatever you're on, you probably can't do it on here. I'm on OBS,
Yeah,
and
she my
I'm
tech
Oh,
actually
okay.
nerdy as
she
hell.
my
So
tech
yeah,
lady. Yeah, she my tech lady. So
It's
I'm
real
using
tech savvy.
I'm
yeah.
using OBS virtual camera and projecting it into this stream or whatever. So all the bells and whistles that I have in OBS, I have right now. I could do all kinds of stuff on screen and everything, because I have
Dope.
OBS open. But I'm no, I have two accounts now. I was Black Girl Gamer, spelled like BlackGurlGamr, like that. But then Twitch did this big innovation in August last year, where they
Hmm.
found a way to get the record labels to agree to let us legally play that music. We were playing it illegally, but
Right.
they were trying to find a solution, and they came up with the DJ program. So that caused me to split my channel in half because I'm a variety streamer, and so now I'm Novocaine underscore Omega as the DJ. So I had a saying
Hmm.
today actually. I DJ house music, hip hop, and R&B all the time, and I teach on Black Girl Gamer and Game, and I talk a lot of
That's
shit.
dope.
It's very raunchy, so I mean, it's parental discretion is advised. I'm liable to say anything out my mouth. You know what I mean? But other than that, if you can handle that, I think y'all will like it.
That's dope. That's
And
I
you guys
wish
are
you the
doing great things
best.
over there too. Thank you.
Uh, right. And can we talk about the voice acting and all of that real quick?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm
What
not
what
gonna
what?
hold y'all. It's getting late. I know.
Yeah, it's all good. What do you
But
want to know?
so like, how'd you get into that? And like, you know what I'm saying? Like basically, like, was that something you strive for, or just you stumbled upon it? Like,
Both. Again, hip hop again. One for hip hop. I
hmm.
wouldn't be a voice actor. I'm an engineer. We are a record label called Soul Trust Records. some years ago.
Mhm.
Opened up the record, I think like 2016 or whatever, and it was because I had been recording people all through the 2010s and whatever like that, recording people right here. There was a booth that I had built here, but to learn how to build the booth, I went on YouTube. There was a lady. She was like, "Oh, I built this booth out of PVC, moving blankets, PVC pipe, whatever." But she was like, "But I'm a voice actor from home," and I was like, "Voice actor from home?" And then I'm a nerd, and I've been recording my stuff. People all my life been telling me I got a nice voice and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
I think like most people who have a decent voice or a persona type voice, like you imagine yourself maybe, like I remember when I saw Regina King like being like Huey and Riley, and so in a way I've kind of had somewhat of a fantasy about being a voice actor, but like most
Mhm.
people, I just looked at it like not something that you could actually like do. And then she
Mhm.
said that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I know how to record my voice really well. So
Mhm.
yeah, I used the booth and I went on Fiverr and
Mhm.
set myself up over there and I'm about 1,200 voiceovers in now.
That's what's
I've
up.
done voiceovers for every Minecraft, Nike, Adidas, Hershey, look, Ashley Home Furniture Store,
That's crazy.
AMC, yeah, lots and lots of stuff. And then when COVID came, whew, I got so much money, like just because
That's what's up.
the politics and all that stuff. So yeah, it's my I got a voiceover that's due now. You know what I'm saying? It's due in a couple of
That's
days.
what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's
And
up.
it's
Yeah, I
very
wish you
it's
the
very
best
fulfilling.
success behind that. I
Thank
hope
you.
that it's something that you could build an empire off of, that could give your seeds generational wealth, and just live the best, most comfortable life for y'all.
Right.
For
We
real.
talked
Wish
about
y'all
that
the
We were
earlier.
talking
best.
about that earlier.
No doubt.
Unfortunately, Rob, AI's here, and AI has
Right.
become. They've already AI has mapped. I've had my voice mapped twice for like a lot of money, and he had his voice mapped once. So he's out here. That somewhere out here you can type in his voice. Somewhere out here you can type in my voice, or whatever.
That's
So it's
crazy.
getting so fancy that they don't. So I get booked less for sure. They're
Wow.
trying to make some. They're making some changes to Fiverr that will allow people to buy my voice, kind of, so that way it
Hmm.
would put me completely out of work. The computers
Hmm.
still can't be like, yo, you know what I mean, son? Like they still ain't,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
Right.
so if you need a
Right.
certain vibe or a certain like, but they're getting close. They're getting real close. It's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
realistic. So I've seen a notable drop in my work in the past 2 years. I can't even explain to you how fast AI is taking my job. Like if I'm being honest,
Sick.
kind
It's
of sad,
crazy.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all right. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Just keep striving,
Yeah,
just
oh
keep
yeah.
striving
It's still a
despite all
skill that people pay
challenges.
for. People want
Right.
a human. That's the good thing. Like for those of us, because I'm good at it. I'm actually really good at it, and my
No doubt.
engineering is pretty good. So people still will pay you for that human. You know,
No doubt.
yeah, for that human. So
Definitely.
it's cool.
And facts, as we close out, I know every Thursday, is it what, 8 p.m.? When do y'all go live on Thursday
Oh,
for your show?
actually, I have a new schedule I'll be starting, but yeah, Thursday will now be probably 6:30 or 7 at the guard hour. Times are gonna change, but that basically Thursday 6:37. I'm definitely gonna keep my hip hop.
Eastern time.
Yes, Eastern time. Thank you. Very important, especially on Twitch.
Yeah,
Yes, and
it's like
Indeed.
every other Thursday, isn't it?
um,
Or
yeah, and also I'll be picking up on TikTok here, just teaching hip hop. Our brother, one of my one of my fellow DJ Zulu, old Zulu Nation member, DJ S. Dot, big up. He was telling me I just started doing a little bit of TikTok. He was like, "Yo, you already kind of doing good. If you just speak up here about the hip hop and post some of the stuff you've already done," he said you'll be pretty good up here, whatever. So I'm gonna
mm-hmm.
start doing that. But my
Yeah,
Twitch
you
schedule
fit
right
right
now
in on TikTok.
is yeah pretty much Thursdays. But I'm completely redefining my Twitch career. Really about to take it to the next level because of the nonprofit that we have. So just kind of segue into what we've been doing in the community. The
Hmm.
book has encouraged us, to start a nonprofit organization based on the works that I was talking about in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Hmm.
made another reason why we stopped making music because after writing the book, the Rubber People made a
Hmm.
vow to not make music unless we're doing something for the community first. That's something that we've already
Mm-hmm.
decided that
Mm-hmm.
we're okay. We're not doing this no more. We're not gonna be on stage talking about we from the hood and we're not taking care of the hood. We're not doing that no more. So
Right.
I have a nonprofit called Culture Freedom Media, and it's a mutual aid society. We based it off of the Black Panther Party because the Black Panther Party had over like 35 programs or whatever. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And so that's what we are right now currently doing in the community. Two programs right now is the food store, the free store, where we giving away clothes, and we do a pop up soup kitchen for people. And
Hmm.
then we also have Straw Hat Farms, which is our urban agriculture initiative. And we've already been given permission. We have two businesses that gave us their backyards, and we've already kind of started the designing, cleaning, soiling process of what we're about to call Brother George Gardens, who was an elder, an ancestor now in our community. He had the Self Improvement Center. That's
Hmm.
where all the guards would come, the NOI,
Okay.
more science stuff. Everybody would come in there. We would build. Brother George would hold us down.
That's
That
peace.
Self Improvement Center. So we naming it Brother George Gardens after him.
And his, yeah, that, honoring him. Okay, that's
Yeah,
peace.
and the community is already they like, yo, what? You know what I mean? Because the brother that owns a restaurant right across the street from where we doing it, and when he walked over, saw what I he saw me back bringing up like shovels and stuff one day. He's like, hey, "What you doing, man?" I said, "We're about to start a community garden, bro." I said, "Brother George
Well,
Gardens." He was like, "Yo, I used to go to brother." He was like, "Yo, whatever you need." He was like, "Yo, that is dope. That is fire." So I mean, in this union, yo, you know what I mean. So union
yes,
name on
sir.
it. I'm in a fraternity. They name on it or whatever. So just let you know,
No
yeah,
doubt.
man, we doing that. Also,
Hmm.
one more thing as far as we're doing my book, one of my Zulu Nation old Zulu Nation breakers, Kid Dizon, you know what I mean, like in New York the history is black and Puerto Rican, right? And
Yes, sir.
in Virginia it's black and Filipino,
Hmm.
you know what I
Right,
mean?
Very,
right.
And
very.
Yep.
so
Queen
Virginia,
Mecca, Queen Mecca, the
come on,
founder of your chapter.
yeah, sure, true
You know what
indeed.
I'm saying?
Look at you, look at
True
you.
indeed. Oh no,
Hey,
L there, yeah,
Rob, you
that's
know
why,
Come
it. Rob
on.
know.
yeah,
Rob
that's
know his
No,
history.
yes sir.
I'll, I know the history.
Yes sir,
You know
yes
what I'm
sir.
saying?
So yeah, Kid
And the
Dizon.
her story too. You know her
Yes, sir.
story as well.
That's what's up. True indeed. True indeed. So Kid Dizon, well, he's now Dizon 187. He's one of the dopest breakers in Virginia by far. You know what I mean? Filipino brother who was in a chapter with us back in the day. We went at the end of March and taught a workshop on breaking at William and Mary University, and
Hmm.
the sister that got us the gig was in our chapter actually one time. Her husband was in our chapter. That's how we actually got met her from back in the day. But now she runs the dance like program at William and Mary. Got me in there on some breaking stuff. And I realized she never had my book. I thought she had my book. I gave her my book that day. She has,
Mm,
bro, she sent me what William and Mary wants in their curriculums. So me
mm,
and her are now currently, I gave her my rough draft curriculum syllabus for one semester with the book.
It's
Yeah, it's
working.
just let you know, man. That thing is. I
mm.
think, yeah, we make, yeah, bro. Yeah, you know what I mean. So that's really looking good as far as the book. I'm also writing a revised version of the book. I'm finishing up a book called. It's a book of essays actually that I was writing that my wife was like, hey, Fats, you go ahead and make a book of them joints. You know what I mean? So it's called the Breakdown Files. It's breaking down misconceptions of hip hop, many different ones or whatever. I had to add because things have changed, this Puerto Rican thing and all that, so I've had to add on some stuff just to
And
make
when he
sure
was
everybody
writing
Mhm,
off, when
understood.
he
You
was
know what I
writing off
mean?
stage, a lot of misconceptions kept popping up, and a lot of myths and stuff that kept popping up,
mhm,
and things that needed to be corrected, but they weren't in
mhm,
line with the point of that book. So it was
mhm.
there to be a split off book, and there's so many different things that people think about hip hop that are wrong, and so he
Yeah.
wanted
Right.
to
And
make
so,
sure
like,
he
for
went in
exa-
and
and
debunked.
just a quick sample, one of those books is because it's misconceptions. So the misconceptions are chapter. So, in one of the joints, I broke down the differences in between popping and locking and breakdance. Because in public,
Mhm.
that is one of the biggest
Questions.
joints you have to kind of break
Yeah.
down to people or whatever.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
that's just one example of one of the things I broke down in that book. And I'm also about to write my last New York hip hop history installation, and that's
Okay.
this is a book. It's a timeline book. I think this book is important. So this book is going to be a book of timeline and a geography book of New York. The history, I realize people don't understand. People think things happen at the same place or different places, and so when we get different stories, a lot of times I'm learning our pioneers are not being contradictory. Yo, he
It's
was
just
he was he
geography.
was in the South Bronx. He was down there with Bam and them, and that what Herc is in West Bronx. A lot of people don't even realize. Everybody think a lot of times everybody was crammed together, and so
Yeah,
one of the
everyone
things
thinks
that
it's
I
all
do.
South Bronx, but yeah,
So
there's
one of
West
the
Bronx, there's East Bronx. You
right,
know what I'm
and what
saying?
Bam and I tell people all the time, did you watch the Get Down? A lot of people are like, yeah. I'm like, well, they broke down one of those scenes. They broke. They was like, Bam is over here,
Mhm.
Herc is over here.
Right.
They broke down to y'all that these people in a different place. Bronx is not small,
Right.
yo. I said so because
Right.
a lot of different things happen. So I think
Right.
geography is just as important as the timeline.
It definitely
So
is.
this is a book I'm doing. It's a
Right.
timeline on each primary element of hip hop with a geography part of it as well.
That's dope.
Yeah, I appreciate.
So how can brothers and sisters that's watching this or listening to it on Apple Podcast or Spotify, how could they get the book? How could they follow you, tap in with the Twitch? Can y'all drop some handles? I know the Queen already listed some, but drop them all, whatever y'all got, so we could,
Yeah.
so the people could get behind y'all and follow y'all and reach out and support because they need this book. And we need to get some Zulus to strong arm a publisher to cut the check and get this book worldwide, man. Like for real, that's what we need. Like,
Yeah.
you know what
I'm
I'm
with you
saying?
on it, man. I appreciate that because if it becomes a textbook at William and Mary, it's a wrap. You know what I mean? And that's kind of
Right.
like actually what we're setting in stone.
Yeah.
That'll
So
set
we
me up
almost there.
nice and finance, and so that we'll be able to actually get it going.
Right.
We
Yes.
got a really dope sister behind us, and we
Yeah, but we
definitely
gotta
moving
fix them
forward.
little teeny bit of typo, like them like two typos. We gotta fix them
Yeah,
before that. But
at least we got a
um,
publisher that'll help us do that though.
right
So
now, so we have a website called each9teach9.com.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a place where you'll be able to get well, right now, let me say this. If you want the ebook of it, then you can just type in off stage the culture of hip hop before the elements, and the book will come up, and you can buy it from Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, or anywhere else. But if you want the hard copy direct from him, then just get in contact with him. He is Culture Chronicles, spelt normally on Twitch. You can whisper him there, or you can find him on Instagram as Fats Kirkman, Phatz Kirkman, or Jason Kirkman on Facebook. Get in there and you can get that personally signed one like you got or whatever if you want that hardback.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
we are able to get it to where you can just order the hardback or whatever.
Right.
Contact him directly. Y'all will exchange information and it'll be to you in a few weeks, signed and with a marker.
That's peace. And I'm gonna put that I'll get all of that info and put that in the description as well. That way
appreciate it,
people could
bro.
just reach out to y'all and get that. It's important that the people have
I
that
certainly
Yeah,
appreciate it,
information.
bro.
really
And when you and if you do purchase the book, maybe you want to get two copies. Give one to your somebody in your family or your seed or somebody. Each one teach one, or like y'all said, the website is what each one teach nine.
well, my like he's Culture Chronicles. When he teaches, he's Culture Chronicles. When I teach, I'm Each Nine Teach Nine. But it's all under
Each nine
one.
teach
Yeah,
nine.
each9teach9.com.
Fire. That's peace, man. We definitely we appreciate y'all time, y'all energy, the wisdom. It's beautiful to see y'all doing it, man. Um, please, man, y'all welcome to be on whatever y'all got something to say. It will be our honor and pleasure to have y'all on to drop the knowledge,
Have us
to
as much
drop
as you
whatever
want.
y'all doing.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, yeah,
Yeah.
we
We
could
at
be
your
we
disposal,
could be your
man.
correspondence, homie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Whenever you
saying?
want us,
Yeah, nah, much honor,
we
much.
are
You
ready.
know what it is. And I also
Yeah.
want to extend this too because we just don't do this to each other. You have us as guests, and I appreciate it. But we're proud of
Well,
you, L1.
it's your turn next. You
Yeah,
have him.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
no, yeah,
yeah,
we ready whenever. Let us
yeah,
know.
definitely,
You know
definitely.
what I'm
I'm proud
saying? It
of
will
you as
be
a
our
father.
honor and pleasure.
I'm proud
Hmm.
of you as a father.
And
I'm
you're
proud of
you're
you
a
as a
dope. You're a
husband.
dope dude, bro.
I'm proud of
Thank
you
you.
as
I
my
appreciate that
always.
for
You know,
real.
I ain't gonna front you. You're one of the most
Yeah, you're
thorough
one of the
brothers,
good ones, man.
period,
For
on the
real.
planet
For
that I
real.
know. You know what I mean? And I love you for being you, man. Please keep being you, man. We appreciate and love you, man. And then thanks for the union, bro. Straight up.
Yes.
Boomerang, man. That's it's I love what we doing, and listen, man. I've been Zulu for 28 years. Like, um, I don't know, like it's everything to me. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like
Yeah,
family, Zulu. It's all one. And I'm just honored to have these connections with people that like, what I'm saying, across the world. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That love the culture, that are preserving the culture, teaching the culture, and guiding what the future of the culture is gonna be. That's all of us. We're playing a role in this, and people don't realize how grand it is. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like it's big. You know what I mean? So appreciate y'all and love y'all for y'all work, man. Keep doing it, and I'm always a comrade and at y'all disposable, to do whatever y'all need to do. I'm always here for y'all. We're always here for y'all.
Thank you, sir.
But
Likewise.
much love and respect, man. Thank you for your time, wisdom, and energy, and I wish y'all big blessings.
Same
Peace.
here, brother. Peace and blessings to you
Peace.
too.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Thank y'all.
Hold on, y'all.
All right.